Oh, John, this is your stuff. This is all $11. So I don't know if your stuff that you want me to, I don't know if your stuff you might have.
You gotta ask Grace.
look at
Grace is in
speaking
charge.
with Diana has it, I don't know, so our stuff. You don't-
Yes.
you don't want
That's
to-
it, we're going?
We're going, yes.
That's it, that's the, you need one of those, and scene.
In case we gotta look through stuff.
We'll make.
Okay, that's what was on the computer, correct?
Okay, good. All right, we're gonna open the meeting of the Environmental Review Board for October 9th, or April 9th, no, not October. Close.
Rewind, start again.
Oh, never mind. For April 9th, what I'd like to do is go a little bit out of order to get the easier ones through first.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can get down to IWS and the battery storage. I think I'm gonna take a little more time. So if we can jump over to Student Bus Company. Anybody have any concerns about this? We looked at it before.
How's the planning board feel about it?
I think they're somewhat concerned about the density of it, or however, Louis, I think you can help us out with this. The applicant said at the last planning board meeting that in the city and that they don't have that much trouble with being that densely packed with buses and that, because they tend to line up the buses at the night before, pre-stage them for the next day.
You got it there, okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, so they're saying that, look, it really doesn't matter that we have these buses. In fact, if we had these buses parked really deep, it really wouldn't matter as far as being too many buses on the site, because they pre-stage their buses and they know that tomorrow morning these school districts are in order, these school districts are gonna be picked up in this order, and therefore they can have the first bus to leave parked up front, and the buses behind it will be the ones leaving later on.
Okay, good. What about the drivers, where they can park?
The drivers, well, we talked about that a little bit, and we talked about a little bit putting it inside here,
Yeah,
and they also have some parking stalls up front, so they can start to do that and then pull the other buses out,
and then move them around.
and then move them around or whatever. So when they start pulling bus, after the first 5 or 10 buses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, after the first 10 or 15 buses leave, they'll have spaces for bus, where the buses will park, they will park.
Okay.
Louis, how like you do that, you do that more than we do, more than I do.
Yeah.
As far as getting you have trucks that go out in the morning, and you don't park them in the same spot every time, or do you schedule them, or park them so that it's not to leave in a certain order next morning?
We park them in a way that the earliest route goes out first, so, yes.
So that's not,
So it's probably gonna be the same with them as far as pickup of the people.
so that's not just somebody blowing smoke to
Not at all, not at all.
Well, they did say at the planning board meeting, and by the way, this applicant sounds wonderful. These are definitely the type of people I'd like to see set up business in the town of Goshen. I think they really do come across as genuinely nice people. That said, we said it the last time at our meeting, that when we looked at
They don't
this,
have this. Okay.
when we looked at this, and the fact that that's gravel, not blacktop, which means none of those lines are painted, which means that there's really no definitive organization as to where they're going to put those buses. We talked about snow removal, plowing snow on gravel, eventually, you're really tearing the place up. Where do you put the snow? We talked about clearing the snow off the roofs, which they did bring up in the planning board meeting.
Yep.
And the response to that was, we have 5 guys with brooms. I'm seeing 20, 36 buses. You're gonna clear 36 buses with 5 guys with brooms. By the way, that snow falls off, where does that go? I feel as though, as much as I like this applicant, all of this, if they get approved, I guess you could say it's their problem, right? If it doesn't work for you, that's your business model, and if you wanna fail, fail. But I can't overlook the problems that they're going to have. The common sense says there's no place for the employees to park, which means they will end up out on Industrial Drive. When they come in the morning, you're gonna get 30 drivers.
Okay.
They've all gotta come in within about the same time. Your first route starts at whatever.
Right.
You're going to end up putting these drivers, they gotta park their car at Industrial Drive to walk in to get their bus out. Industrial Drive's not that big. It's all business out there. it's the absolute right spot for that kind of business. I think it's that kind of business at about 3/4 the size, maybe a quarter the size or a third the size.
On tight spots, people take out what they need to drive for the day and put their car in place of it.
So bus comes in, so
Okay, so they do
with
it.
that, he says he does that, so he takes the bus out.
Hey, Carol.
Takes the bus out, and then, meanwhile, other people are waiting to, the other drivers are waiting to come in.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this to me looks like a logistical nightmare. And the applicant did say, and I'll finish with this, the applicant said, in New York City, we do this all the time. And if you notice that if you're going to businesses that work like they do in New York City, it starts to look like New York City. I hate to see businesses start to do that, where they're just so filling every square inch of the property. Again, if approved, that's all their problem. They said they can handle it, then I guess they can handle it.
Okay.
I'm concerned about the overflow into the industrial drive, although there's no residential. I have a concern for the other businesses that need to operate on industrial.
So, is this company only gonna do students, or?
Yeah, it does students, and it does, I think it's just for 2, as of this point in time, they do more than this, but this one's supposed to be servicing, I think, Chester and Florida School District.
Okay. Going back to the snow, if it snows, school's probably gonna be delayed or canceled. So they're gonna probably be moving those buses, I would say, near the employee parking, because there won't be 30 people to come in and take their buses. Now, it's up to the guy who does the snow plow, whether they do it in-house or they contract out to have the snow removed. Lines, what kind of buses are these? Dual, single?
They have the short ones and the long ones.
Traditional school buses.
Right, because sometimes when you park in a line, it's not wide enough. And we see that at shopping malls and stuff. So I'm against putting the lines in there. If they just park next to each other, who's to say? Some of the doors open like a conventional car door, some of them open within. So I don't know what type of buses they're gonna use either. So that plays a big factor. They could, theoretically, if the doors open inward, they could get another 3-4 parking spaces in there, because they're not getting doors getting in and out. I don't know. But yes, I have seen people pull out their vehicles and put their personal vehicles in place of it, and it has worked. If they're saying, I mean, that's their gig, that's what they do in other places, if they're saying they're not gonna park on industrial, I don't know.
I can see doing that on a truck or two, doing it on 38 school buses. I just see them all over on top of each other. Again, it's a them problem.
Right.
If approved, it's on them. But
So we don't see that with Quality Bus on Cannon Hill. They've got a lot more buses and about the same tightness of room. I don't see vehicles on Cannon Road.
Oh.
Do you?
No, I
Or
don't
have you
know
ever?
much of an issue. What I was gonna say is, the one thing we could ask for here is them to put 2 no parking signs out on Industrial Drive in front of their properties, or their property. Just it will indicate that they're not allowed to park up there, and it will give some recognition for their employees at least. Now, what'll happen, they'll put 2 here maybe, and people park on either side, but at least it's a start saying, trying to give recognition to the fact that there is no parking. We actually allow no parking on town roads anytime, anyhow.
Right.
But most people don't know that. I mean, that's true in Ham Park and everywhere.
if approved and it works out, nobody will ever know. But if it doesn't work out, the question's gonna be, how did you possibly let
Yes.
them do this?
And so the thing we haven't seen yet, the traffic report, have we? Chris?
The traffic report has not
They're
been done
saying
yet.
30 a year and they get 31, no
I'm
big deal.
sorry.
But if they start getting 40 or 50, that becomes the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
It
code
is going to be
enforcement
done.
thing yearly.
Pardon?
It is going to be
Or
done, just has
police,
not been done.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
right.
park on the street.
And I do hate to do that. That's one more thing we put on code enforcement, and they're pretty stretched as it is. And then police, this is all nuisance stuff, which, again, you're using every square inch. What do you think if they had half the number of buses?
Yeah, but they can't.
It wouldn't
function.
function.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
And the truth of the matter is that every property is so precious that that's why people try to cram stuff in.
Yeah, I get it.
But
Well, are they setting the 30 spaces in case they need 30
No,
buses?
they-
They only
I
have
think-
20 right now?
I think they're claiming they have it.
They got
They
them
have them.
Yeah, they have them all. In fact, I did question the other time whether or not they have space inside the building. They claim they're gonna do service in there, so they got space in there for possibly 2 or 3 full-size buses to park, so you can have a little bit more room.
Don't plan on it.
I know they're not going to want to, but.
Well, it's not that they're gonna want to. If you're servicing a vehicle and it's out of service, that's where the
Yeah.
two vehicles are
They're
parked. You
just
can't
parked
push it
over there.
out
Right.
to put something in place of it. So,
If it matters, the current gravel that's around that building
Mhm.
is so soft that you can stomp your foot down into it. Now, I don't know that that'll tighten up, it is not item 4. Item 4 over time is hard as cement. This is a more of a gravel, I know they're not in that business. Let me, I had a picture of it, let me see if I can bring that up. Cause now I got the guy that would know.
I've got a
It-
question.
Go ahead.
The next door neighbor owns this lot also, right?
Yeah, anyways, they're doing at the same time as they're proposing to take this lot and move the lot line from here to there and attach that to, the lot over here.
So the bus people are not gonna get that extra.
The proposal right now is for the bus people not to get this land here.
That land's actually already filled with, the heavy machinery from the occupant next door.
I thought that would help solve their problem, but.
Yeah, they would've. They gave up property, I couldn't understand that.
Actually, I think what really happened is, I'm not sure who owns it. For some reason, I thought that the neighbor is the one who owned this property. They were saying, we'll sell you that much, we won't sell you the whole thing, but I could be wrong.
okay, so besides the parking being an issue, what else are you looking at?
The other thing they are doing, they haven't done yet, is a traffic study right here at the end of the intersection. The concern there is that if you're making a right-hand, particularly if you're gonna service Florida School District, you're gonna make a right-hand turn with buses from the right-hand lane, how much you can stay in the one lane heading into Florida, or whether you're gonna end up having to go into the northbound lane.
Little buses, same lane.
Right. I agree.
And they, if they're picking up schools, if they're picking up kids from, argument's sake, 6 o'clock in the morning, that's not the heaviest traffic time.
No, it's gonna, I think it's gonna be 6 or 7, I think by 7 or 7:30,
They gotta be
all the
out.
buses out there, I think.
They wanna put a fuel tank in the back.
Yeah.
I believe it's a 500 gallon diesel
Something. I think it's 6.
600?
Yeah.
for 38 buses.
Yeah.
So 600 for diesel, 150 for gas,
Yeah.
150 for
Yeah.
gas.
Right.
Okay,
For running 36 buses, there's 600 gallons. It's almost like a day and a half worth of fuel. And I think it would, go ahead, talk, Lily.
well, even if they put a small tank in there, it depends on who their fuel supplier is, he could show up every 2 days and fill them up.
No, I know you
Instead
can.
of one big
Yeah.
tank.
Yep.
So, who knows?
And the reason for keeping a small tank is probably to avoid DEC issues?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't
Was
know.
there talk of moving that tank to the side of the building, because they've said.
There was talk about moving it from there because there was a possibility that you really can't get any buses down into there to fuel up.
That's the gravel,
Can you tell me where
right
it is?
here. Right here, right?
Yeah. Will that tighten up?
No,
I didn't think so.
no. But to tighten it up, fabric, and then gravel on top. Not this type of gravel, obviously, but.
Well, my concern was that, as soft as it is now, if it stays that soft and you're putting these buses on it constantly, you're just, the ruts in time,
Sure.
again, a them problem, right? You get stuck, you gotta redo the driveway. I just feel like it's, we're remiss if we don't say.
Well, I think we have to suggest that they go ahead and have a suitable surface.
Right.
To handle number one, the buses and the service vehicles that they're gonna have, and number two is the emergency vehicles in case there was a fire or something.
So, take my establishment, for instance.
Yeah.
The main entrance in, that's a thicker, different type of gravel, because it's constantly being used in the same ruts.
Yep.
But where the vehicles are parked, I don't have to have it 10 inches thick,
Mhm.
because it's not being compacted as the entranceway is constantly in and out. So if they do 2 different types of aggregates there, it's why you wanna mandate them to kinda have blacktop?
Well, I think blacktop probably gives us a whole other problem, but blacktop, now you can snow plow it, now you can, when you're turning the buses, you're turning a wheel on a heavy truck like that, you're just digging ditches.
All right, Louis, you have gravel in yours.
I have gravel in mine. My
Right, so
place
what-
is mostly 90% of compacted item 4. So, argument's sake, nowadays they do the recycled crushed concrete, which once that breaks down, it's gonna be as solid as this table
Yeah.
here, as hard, you know? So it depends on what they put in there. It's up to them. If they feel the need that they have to put blacktop later on because they're having an issue, then it's their problem later on.
Like I said, I think this is all a them problem, but we'd be remiss not to say, you got it wrong.
I can tell you with gravel, for winter time, you got a little bit better traction than you would on blacktop.
Okay.
They'll be putting less and less salt down, because even if it's just, I mean, look at your place and mine. If it's just a slim coat of ice, blacktop, it's black ice, you're sliding. With the gravel, you have a little bit of traction there for the people walking from the bus to their office to get their route, and parking as well. It's just a different kind of material that they need for that.
Well, it
What
was,
was it before? What was it before? Just a field and they just threw the stone on top?
no, it was a,
It was used just for appliance repairs. It was a very low usage.
I think the appliance repair when I went there once, it did have a blacktop front though, they must have
Yeah, I think
taken that
that
out.
might have been.
So in all this area, the appliance repair didn't have any outside storage?
No, it was a small.
So this was just vacant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they put the stone in there to.
Right, oh, that's, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
go to the picture before, you'll see that there's a pile.
But I think it is a requirement that it be able to handle, emergency vehicles, particularly fire trucks.
So these little buses are about 5,000 pounds, if not less, that's why I asked, I don't know what size buses they have in there.
Yeah, some of the buses, I think the buses are not gonna be the issue. The buses are relatively light, even the big ones are relatively light. I think it's gonna be the, delivery vehicle for fuel and that kind of thing.
I think those buses are pretty heavy, and if you just keep running them in the same lane time and time again,
Oh, no,
a
sure.
them problem.
So,
But then problem, yeah.
A them problem, but it just, be remiss not to say, you got this wrong.
But-
You might know about buses, you don't know anything about gravel.
But no matter what, they have to have the ability for emergency vehicles to get in there and get around without getting stuck in an emergency situation. And I'm really talking about fire
Yeah.
trucks. What, Louis?
No, it's a catch-22, because you can have the best gravel like I do, and then you have a deep frost, and then the frost comes out, you're as soft as carpet.
I know,
So blacktop will do the same thing, and it'll heave and it'll break.
I understand that.
I'm sure they're probably thinking along the lines that over here are the larger buses, they're gonna put it thicker in a different type of gravel to park.
Right. Sure.
And none of the plans does it actually say, what they're doing for the gravel, blacktop, they never mention it.
No, there was a cross section of the driveway.
And that parking lot in the back there, by the way, this is not built yet, they're going to, they want to clear this out and make that a parking lot.
So this is theirs too.
It is
Yeah.
What is there?
nothing, right now there's a road that goes basically from here up to here, this is all cleaned out, even though it says, green space,
Yeah.
but it's cleaned out, the trees start just the other side.
So it's not wet there?
No.
It's up on top of a hill, I'd say it's probably a 15-foot
Yeah.
rise.
Yeah, it's at least that, it's, what, we're at 460 all the way back to here, and this is 440 up here. So it's 20 foot from here to there.
That's a heck of a road for so much traffic. Ooh.
Yeah, I think it was there before when it was, for the Onion Festival property. We used to be able to get into there.
Ah.
Coming in and out of there is not gonna be easy,
No.
not with today's traffic.
Where? At the bottom of industrial?
Yeah,
If they're,
onto 17.
but if they're saying they're mostly making rights, that's
They're
happening.
not, but some of them are certainly gonna, maybe they all are gonna be
For
correct.
Florida?
Florida, yes, but if they're going to Chester, I don't know how they're gonna go out.
They actually wouldn't give it, they wouldn't,
Well,
they
yeah,
wouldn't
but
commit.
coming back in, it's gonna be the same issue. They're gonna
Yeah,
have to
coming
cross
back
that
in.
road.
Right.
Okay. The traffic study's still on its way in, and we have not received that yet.
From state.
From, they're gonna do it, no, they're doing it, they're having traffic consultant. Okay, anything else? There's no outside lighting shown, I don't think,
Well, let me ask you
go
another
ahead.
question.
Yep.
There used to be a bus garage down that road. Nobody ever had any problems. I don't recall
Yeah.
the 20 years
Yeah,
of being
I-
here, accidents with buses right there blown out.
But I'm not sure whether they ran the buses out of there, or they're just the service
There's
buses
a
out of there.
service garage down in
Down
the
here,
back by
yeah.
the
Oh,
Korean
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that used to be a bus garage there.
Okay.
Yeah, but 20 years ago, the traffic was a heck of a lot different than now.
Yeah, but through the years, I never heard of any accident stuff, and they had quite a few buses there
Yeah, they
as
did.
well.
Anyhow, they're gonna do the traffic study and figure out what, if anything's gonna be recommended.
Okay.
I can picture a right-hand turn being improved somehow, or even walking this industrial drive with the center line over to the,
Doesn't have a line.
Maybe that out here they should, and favor this side being bigger. So they can turn, actually, once I say that now, I'm just thinking, anybody making a right-hand turn coming down is gonna have a tough time otherwise. Okay.
Are you talking about leaving this and going on?
I'm talking about leaving it here, no, I'm talking about leaving industrial drive going right on the
Oh.
17M, or coming down 17M and making a right on industrial drive.
Not their entrance and exit.
No, I'm not talking there.
So if they do need more space to go in and out, don't you eliminate the drop curb? Like the second business in there, what is that, the excavation company?
Yeah.
It gives them a lot more room to pull in and out. Is it really needed there, the drop curb?
I don't know.
What's the square for plants?
That's the only blacktop area, it's the only paved area, is be 20 foot by 20 foot.
To do what?
Because that was gonna protect our edge of our roadway. I think Broderick requested it. But if they have a curb there, it shouldn't.
What
be-
is it protecting? It's a curb there.
Yeah, if it's a curb there, it shouldn't make a difference, you're right, I was just gonna say that.
I think
On the
last time-
inside,
Last time we talked about, because it was all gravel, the buses by nature will bring some of that gravel with it out onto the road, but you're saying that on the blacktop, you can lose some of that, it gives you sort of a 20 feet to maybe not drag all that stuff out onto the
So
road.
you're
Actually, I got
entering
hammered at the
on the-
meeting because, usually it's gravel there instead. They're right, because usually we're going dirt to gravel. But going gravel to pavement, I think if I'm gonna try, what we're trying to do is eliminate a lot of stuff being taken out. And they say the paved area is gonna do that.
okay.
20-foot paved area, I'm not sure.
But Louis, you're saying do away with the curb altogether and just make it
An entrance,
an entrance?
The whole-
thing's an
like the
entrance.
excavation company has.
It gives them a lot more.
Let's go pave, blacktop to blacktop and have the curbs outside.
Or if you wanna go in 10 feet with paving the apron all the
Mhm.
way across, but still allow them to go in and out through there.
Yep. Okay, let's suggest that we look at it.
Does the excavation company to the left of them have curbs,
I didn't look,
where all the machinery is?
I don't
I
know.
didn't look.
Okay.
I suspect that most of these lots were developed a long time ago and the curb cuts are already there.
Okay.
Some curb cuts, I'm not sure all these are. So unless there's a site plan with lighting, we should have some kind of lighting
Probably also for security.
for security and employee safety in the morning and night, because during winter, they're gonna be showing up early and leaving late possibly. So they should have some kind of lighting plan. Anything else?
Yes, it does have curbs, by the way, just looking at Google Earth,
Okay.
Google, whatever it is, when
Yeah.
they drive by. But yes, next door does have curbs.
They have an existing facility someplace out?
Yeah, they do.
Do you know how big that is and how many buses that come out of there?
No, I don't, John. I know they said they're functioning already. They just wanna move here because they wanna use this to service the Florida and I think it's just.
It's closer. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering proportionally, how big is what they have
Yeah.
already and how many buses? come
They
out?
certainly have indicated that they think it's gonna be no problem for them.
I hope not.
Yeah, they were, they said, well, this is how it's done in New York City, this is how we do it.
Elsewhere, yep. Yeah.
I mean, I've driven trucks in New York City and I've driven trucks in Orange County, and believe me,
There's-
I'd rather drive them in Orange County. This is a nightmare. This is really, and you look, on a nice sunny day, on an easy day, it's something, but during the winter, I see it being a real problem. Again, it's them problem. And if you've heard them speak, the applicants, they're really nice people,
Okay.
I want it to work for them.
Yep, it's family owned and everything, but okay, good. Anything, Carol? Anything else? John? All right, so. Good. So we'll talk about maybe looking at the entrances here, maybe looking at lighting and a better surface to handle emergency vehicles possibly.
When you say lighting, can't they light up the parking lot from the building instead of put
Yeah,
posts?
that's what I'd love to see it that way, really. A nice back feather, you know, just down, just so that people can walk from the building to the buses, wherever they need to go. Okay, let's skip to Gotham Properties, also formerly known as Aurora Industries. For those of you who don't know, Aurora Industries is the one that used to have the worms. They used to raise the worms inside the building. And then they also collect backwater and all that good stuff for fertilizer.
So they're not, there's any business?
No, they're not, they're pulling out of here. And they're going to be moving to, they're just pulling out.
This is the site, Merv Lewis's
Yeah.
old,
Yeah.
strip.
Yeah, they're up there stripping all that, right?
Yep.
Okay, John, maybe you can help us out a little bit here. So they're gonna they wanna divide this up into, we're gonna ultimately having 3 different properties.
Pop this off, 'cause this was the before and after, right? This is
Yeah.
what they had and what they want.
Okay.
I think a lot of this is wetlands, or floodplain, right, John?
It's like dirt, I mean, a lot of it, I mean.
Black dirt area.
Yeah.
Up the hill. Is there any right of way to these parcels in the back here, or?
The answer is, as of right now, if you look at this map here, or this site here,
Yeah.
it shows the roadway going to the back, and to call it a roadway is really an exaggeration.
We call it an Indian path, as long as
It
it's a
is,
right,
but
if it's a
yeah.
right of way on somebody's deed, it's the.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people are aware of it. I know Diana brought it up at the meeting. And I don't know if there is really any legal access to that. I don't know if anybody else has legal access.
This is, you mean somebody's deed, I mean.
Yeah, maybe, yep,
So this is a plan for, it's dated 1979,
yep.
and it says right of way through this road.
Right.
Does that mean anything? It says right of way.
Right away through there, but it seems to drop off back here. Like, once you got to the airfield, or airstrip, it dropped off. But they're not proposing doing anything different to it. They're just proposing to change the lot lines here to make different lots.
Or what?
Pardon?
Or what?
They just want, they want to sell the property. Okay, they're pulling out, they want to be out of here. And so they want to subdivide it so it's, perhaps more reasonable for somebody else to buy it. So the front lot, I thought the front lot up, right along, the main road there is gonna go to a neighboring parcel, I thought.
Pulaski Avenue.
I think so. I think somebody up here was gonna just attach it to their property, maybe whoever this is.
Okay.
Okay, and then these two are gonna be, the existing building is on his, and this here is really all black dirt area. So it's gonna be nothing, there's no structure ever going there. Pretty much right, John?
Well, you know, it depends, if people put stuff on black dirt, I mean, they fill black dirt and then put structures.
I understand that. They're not supposed to do that, but yes, I think that does happen. And then The airstrip in the back, or the airstrip property in the back, is gonna be the last parcel.
Yeah,
And speaking of that right of way, if it goes right up the road where you said it dropped off, now that, what is now gonna be the airstrip property, the blue property, that would have the road, the right of way comes to that property.
Comes to this property, yes.
So that eliminates the
Yeah.
issue of it dropping off in the
Well,
back.
yeah, well, the concern is that a lot of the farmers, I think, in the back here, depend on this,
On the right of way?
on the right of way, yeah.
Okay.
Is that good, John? Is
I
that-
don't know, but yeah, if there's a right of way there, it's.
They want it. They wanna leave it as an option.
Well, if they're just using it as opposed to it being an actual deeded right of way,
No,
that's-
There's no obligation then, right?
Yeah, there's no obligation.
well, they don't have an obligation now, that they may
Right.
have one in the future, so.
It all depends on what's in their deed.
Right.
That's not to say that those farmers couldn't make a deal with the new property owner.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, a them problem?
Why, do the farmers use that
I don't know.
to go through and come down to Pulaski?
I think some farmers might use it to get from the black dirt back through here to Pulaski.
Yeah. If they're harvesting, you know, they're using that.
Yeah. It's the shortest way out of there sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the other way, they would have to go all the way down to,
Yeah, they go, we start down the walk hill and then come out.
well,
Yeah. Okay, it's.
But is it our problem?
No, only that it should be acknowledged, if there is a deed for it, it should be acknowledged on the site plan that we're gonna sign, I think. Right, this,
No, I'm saying, is it our problem if they come to an agreement and
Oh,
they
no,
install?
we don't
That
care.
has nothing to do with it.
no, it doesn't, but if there's a deed of right away right now, then it should be shown, because we require easements and that to be shown on plans.
Google Maps actually shows it as Sleepy Hollow
Right.
Road,
Yep.
and that usually indicates that there is an active roadway. Yeah, there's definitely an active roadway under there.
Who
So,
maintains it?
Don't know, as John was saying, if the farmer's just using it to access.
No, snow plowing wise. It's
Oh,
not
no.
a dedicated road to the town.
No, it's not. I mean, I don't know if anybody's maintained the road. The last time I was there, I had the town car out there, and I was straddling ditches.
to the airport even, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really
Yeah,
rough.
the airport's rough. When you get past the airport, it's worse.
But if it's a dedicated road,
It's not dedicated, no, it's not a dedicated,
It's not.
it's not a municipal road.
But you can access those fields if that road was no longer available, Indiana,
Yeah.
to these, I mean, there's a way to get it, but
Yes.
it's much harder to do
Yep.
than this.
And when you're bringing in trucks and trucks of onions or something like that, going all the way around takes a lot more time. So anyhow, I think the question is back to, if there's a deed of right of way, then it needs to be shown on there, or an easement or something like that.
Yeah.
And so somebody needs to come up with it, whether or not there is such a thing. So
who's that somebody?
If somebody is the applicant, not us. No, it's not us, it's either the applicant or somebody else should show, yes, there are deed of rights of way or easements or process, and here's where it is. And they're showing it as a proposed right of way.
Yeah.
Is that rule of thumb?
People just fill in black dirt and then start building. I mean, technically, you probably, the building should be of an agricultural use, but, you know, going down,
Yeah. If it's not an agricultural use, then we would look at it a lot harder.
you know. My wife mentioned one.
Go ahead.
But they're not an agricultural use right now.
This,
Aurora is?
Aurora is considered an agricultural property, not an agricultural use. It's an agricultural related business, yes. Everybody collects back one. Seagull droppings, I mean, come on. You probably put that in your backyard.
Yeah.
I always thought it was gonna be for people who were raising marijuana. And I thought, that's it, it's targeting that audience, but in any case, they do have it. And I was in the room where they raised their worms, and they collect the droppings from the worms.
Okay.
It's tough getting diapers on them, but.
Hang on, worms make droppings?
Yes, yes.
They take in dirt and goes right.
Yeah, it goes right through, and they were collecting, they were,
Castings.
yes, castings, or whatever, droppings of the worms, and they were selling it. You can buy it, I think that, the grow shop out there on 17M has it,
Really?
has some of the stuff.
They
yeah.
have another place And they have a YouTube video of how they make everything and stuff. It's pretty wild to watch.
The more
You wouldn't
know.
think of it, but.
All right.
I got one thing.
Yeah.
Wifey mentioned it to
Go
me.
ahead.
Wifey knows all.
Well,
There's a cell tower up there?
yes, there is.
She was
There's a
saying-
cell tower
She was saying,
out here.
there's a electric pole or something
Somebody said something about an electric pole. Yep.
on Urbanski's lot on another property. How are they gonna deal with that?
I don't know. This one here doesn't show it on Urbanski's property. But this is Urbanski, I think, right?
Yeah, this whole
Yeah.
You're looking for a pole, you said? I mean, here's,
electric pole, yeah,
the cell tower is here,
Right.
right?
yeah.
But a pole on that property,
On the neighboring property, neighboring property.
where the road is?
No. Right here in the corner.
Give me a sec. What do you think? It's all trees on it.
Yeah, but that's
So,
here, but
that's
that's
there, I'm
not
not gonna be able to see it on
Oh,
Google Earth, that's all treed in.
I believe when they talked about that, they said O&R had to have access to it.
Yeah, certainly O&R wants the access and, yeah.
Well, they can have access.
Well,
Put that into,
yeah.
who put the cell tower up then?
Well, I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that the overhead wires weren't pre-existing the cell tower.
Okay.
We can find out who did the cell tower. The cell tower I was out there for.
Oh, yeah.
And it is about here somewhere. And it was too close to this property line at that time. So they had to have one of these cell towers that hinge in the middle or collapse in the middle.
Okay.
So that it wouldn't, we always have this theory that if you have a 200-foot cell tower, it might fall as one big unit. And
Yeah.
therefore you should be 200 feet away from the property line. In this case, it was gonna be closer to that, so they had to have it, so it
Yeah.
will break in the middle of the cell tower.
Okay,
That's the plan.
that's the plan, but,
And Louis has been engineered.
good, okay.
No comment. Right now.
There. Okay, so yeah. I think it's gonna be close enough to the property line that we're not gonna be able to tell whether it's really there, where it really is. But they do show overhead lines up to here. And then they'll show it up there, so I'm not sure. All right, anybody have any problems with this, like this otherwise?
I don't.
Me neither.
John?
Just the right of way in this issue, whether that pole is on Mr. Urbanski's or not.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that was a pre-existing thing that was feeding the airstrip, or just had been put in for the
I don't recall,
tower.
I don't recall them putting it in for the cell tower, but they could have been, I mean.
But that was there before they even made this road. They made this road in Aurora.
No,
Yes.
no, that road was in,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir. That road was always there, that they improved it some, but that road was there. John? You know,
I would think it would have been there for the easement for, at least to get up to,
that's what happened here. These buildings existed, this building existed prior to Aurora. That building was there a long time before that. And so was there were migrant housing in here, there was migrant housing in there too for a while. I think they tore it all down now.
I think they did, yeah.
Right, but that was always been there too, Louis, so.
But if
It had
this
to be
is,
rolled into
if this was a farm prior, just because you bring your tractor back
No,
and
no.
forth doesn't make it a road, it's just,
I know.
okay. That's what I remember it being,
Okay.
and they brought in a lot of stone to
Yeah,
get it to the back.
They did bring a lot of stone in to get into here.
Correct.
To this, they certainly improved it.
To build
for
the
sake of-
building.
For the sake of their buildings, right?
Correct.
But that driveway, roadway, whatever you want to call this thing here existed back to here prior to Aurora ever getting there.
Because if it's what he pulled up on his map, whatever the name of the road was,
Yep.
that was probably the road going all the way through
Yeah.
to here,
Yeah.
which was initially just for the farmers.
Right, I think so. Certainly the,
Like the roads through the Black.
right. Mhm.
I don't necessarily call them roads, but
It's an easement.
Easements.
Deed, it has legal,
An easement is probably the best answer.
so when that pole was put there,
yeah, whenever, I don't know when the pole.
I don't know the answer either. I know that this obviously had electric. I don't know whether that had electric up to there before.
Does Zabransky still own
Down on the property that's next to him, yeah.
it? He does.
Because, yeah, he was thinking about putting, once it's faced there, putting,
Okay.
Okay,
what do you call those things?
Solar?
You know,
Solar?
Solar, that's it,
Solar.
yeah, he was had, I don't think.
he's got all kinds of solar out there now. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything else on this one?
Not for me.
Carol? Good? All right, Northern Beer, Bear. What?
You ready tonight?
Yeah, yeah.
This is wood. Where's my one?
I think that they got a variance now?
They did, they approved it last week.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Do you remember what it was about?
Jordan was, the variance was just for parking,
this is,
That they could keep the parking that they had?
the parking in the front of the building.
and this is wood.
Okay, this is the site plan that they were being asked to approve. They had banned landscaping on the property. These two things were together for a while. There was a big beauty shop, and then the pet supply was there. Apparently the variance was needed because there's too many parking spaces in front of the building. That's been now given a variance through the ZBA. Anybody have any other concerns with this one?
They did say that they made a good point that putting any landscaping in front of, to screen, which we would normally require,
Yep.
would really be a sightline issue coming in and out. So in this instance, it's probably best not to have that.
Agreed.
And I think if you tried to put anything down in front of a parking spot, even if you could get it on their property, it wouldn't be a sight distance thing here, but I think the property drops off so much from there that you couldn't, if I put a 5-foot tree there, it'd be, make it up to the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would probably make it up to the bottom of the parking area. So I don't think there's much, any benefit by it.
The hill that's cut into in the back,
Mm-hmm.
are they, is there any talk of putting something on there for erosion control? Do we have any concern that that's gonna come down into the parking lot eventually?
That's always been a bad spot. Since they did it. And we had a design professional, perhaps the wrong design professional, swear that the slope was good enough and it was gonna be okay. But I don't know that it's moved a lot since they've done it. I think it's sitting there. But certainly the idea of, Louis, ideas, can they landscape that?
Why would you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, really, there's nothing
Is it like
happening
a
in
mountain?
years, no,
No,
we've
no, no,
had
but-
tremendous rains, nothing came down on them.
Well, I'm guessing the dirt's coming down, or it's washing off, the dirt's being washed down into the stream or something sooner or later.
What stream?
Stream right here, isn't there a stream right here? Yeah, I know there is, there's a culvert over here somewhere.
Okay.
So this is probably coming down up there and then running this way.
I've never seen anything come
I-
out of that.
I can't say that I have,
That wall would
No.
push out first that he has 4 or 5 foot tall.
Right.
yeah, no, I'm not talking like a landslide thing, I'm talking more like stormwater runoff. Just a bunch of dirt every time it rains.
Yeah, but after all these storms that we've had, I've never seen anything happen in the
You would
back of that
see like a
mountain.
little river going through it
I don't just,
and then going down.
And I was gonna say, I was by there just last week, and I was surprised that the hill is just completely brown. There is nothing growing on it,
Yeah.
which is, that kind of, I would've thought just natural stuff would've started growing in there, it just hasn't. Which, so long as it's not coming down, fine. I just thought it was odd that
No, I agree.
not even weeds are
Well,
growing in
is there
there.
shale in there?
I
It
don't
looks like dirt from the road, brown.
I think it's just regular soil, but it's not soil that, it's not topsoil, so there's nothing that can.
No organic
Right, there's
matter.
nothing organic in there.
So the engineer that was there and said there's nothing wrong with it,
Yep.
why are we debating it or contesting it or whatever you wanna call it?
Well,
If there hasn't been anything wrong in years and he
No,
said it was
Well, the
fine.
project's only here for variance, for the parking, right?
he was, no, what happened was they also got, somebody wanted to go in there and put in a, I think that at some point they were gonna put in some kind of restaurant, that food place?
So they went, so
Restaurant.
the hair salon moved out,
Right.
Mhm.
they went to re-rent it when they came. the people who went to re-rent it or rent it came into the building department to make sure that it was rentable. And at that time, it was determined that there was no site plan that was signed.
In 2012, they had actually gone through all the steps right up to the point where it was supposed to be signed, and something got dropped. And,
I don't think they met all the conditions.
Is that what it
To have
was?
the site plan signed. So,
well, then they stopped the process, and now
Yeah.
picking it up this much later is tough.
Well, what do they wanna put in the rest of it?
They don't know, right now they don't have any tenant.
Yeah, it's
Look at it.
empty.
They had somebody, I thought it was gonna be a food place of some sort. We certainly have had interest in over the years in there. I think it's a good spot for somebody.
I think planning they did a real good job of answering the questions. I didn't have anything more for it.
John? Anything? Lily?
No?
Okay, no extra comments. All right, let's go wood subdivision. No, that's battery storage. We got there. I got it. Okay, so this is on Sarah Wells Trail and Victoria Terrace. I think everybody knows Sarah Wells Trail. Most of us who live in the town probably don't know Victoria Terrace. It's the last road in the village, and it's actually kind of strange because Victoria Terrace is in the village, and it looks like the first, I'm gonna say 200 feet of the driveway is in the village, of the proposed driveway. Then it goes back here and it's in the town. So the subdivision is entirely in the town. However, some of the access is gonna be taken off of Victoria Terrace. Most of what we see nowadays is really, most of the usage of this property is really done off of Sarah Wells. Okay, it's gonna be the proposed three-lot subdivision. And what they're really gonna do is keep the existing, property on Sarah Wells. They're gonna keep it and cut it off at the back there. They're gonna try to sell 13 acres. I think they probably haven't sold, but it's 13 acres or 14 acres. We have one lot in the back, and it's gonna go with, that's gonna have the, horse, I think there's a barn there, and I think there's also some riding, space there. And then the third parcel is gonna be another house there. So they're actually proposing, out of this driveway over Victoria Terrace, they're actually proposing 1, 2, 3, 4 houses are gonna be accessing off of that driveway or roadway, whatever they call it.
Victoria Terrace is a village.
That's
Victoria Terrace is a village.
Looks like a driveway.
Is
Yeah, I
that
think it's
actual
gravel.
farm now?
Yeah, this is in existence, you just don't see it.
Does it have an indoor?
I don't think so, I think it just has a barn and an outside space. It's way in the back, you hardly see it. I've never seen it really.
It's not across from, Coors property.
No, I think it's before Coors property.
Okay.
Probably across from, maybe Wagon Wheel.
I think it was all on the other side of it, but yeah,
Yeah, it's right about just right opposite Wagon Wheel. Cause it looks like, the old stuff from Danbury's, things just about there.
It is right across from.
Yeah.
Wagon Wheel
Yeah.
there. You're talking about the building that's back there, the existing building?
The
Is
barn,
that
yeah.
the barn?
Can you see it from the road?
No.
Oh, okay.
I gotta tell you, I've never known it was there.
It looks, yeah, they have a. And that would become part of that lot
That would
two.
become part of lot 2, right?
Leave the existing building.
The existing house is gonna be on lot 1, the existing building barn is gonna be on lot 2.
I'm sorry. And so access to lots 1 and 2, we said would come off of Sarah Wells.
No, I think that the access to lot 2 is really gonna be off Victoria Terrace.
Well,
That's a Russian one, I
Yeah,
guess.
they do here.
this is the new plan.
This is,
This is a new plan. I
Okay,
don't have
so
that one.
What's the name of
Wood is the owner's name.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what
They're
the farm
calling it
name
Wood
is.
subdivision.
I know, curious to see what the name of the farm is.
Every farm has a name, I know.
And
But I don't know what it
For me
is.
to identify.
Yeah,
So how many houses are gonna come off on Victoria and how many are gonna come off on Ceremony?
Victoria Terrace, we're gonna add we wanna add they wanna add 2 new houses to the, off of Victoria Terrace. And off of Victoria Terrace right now, there are 2 houses off of that driveway.
2 houses.
Right, one's in the village, one's in the town.
And see, this guy's, is
Right.
there anyone besides him?
That is, yes, that is the one that's in the village,
Yeah, okay.
okay? And then if you go back further, there's one in the town.
Oh,
Go
okay,
back the driveway past that house.
okay, there's another driver then you're saying?
No, it's the same driveway, you're going back on that driveway.
No,
Yeah,
we
oh,
need
okay, okay. So both of those are gonna come out
Both of those currently come out on that driveway right there, Victoria Terrace.
and they will continue to come out there?
Yes, and what they wanna do is add 2 more houses coming out right there on that driveway.
This same?
Yes. What do you wanna say, John?
I mean, that's a lot of, they're gonna have some kind of maintenance agreement then to maintain
Yeah.
that people can get in and out of there and follow it.
The question, I believe, at planning, they were asking, were they gonna set up an HOA to deal with just that problem, John? I don't know, did we get an answer to that?
The answer, almost nobody ever wants to go HOA.
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna say, I would.
You have to have a president and this and that and the other thing.
So how do you, but
You
how
can
do
do
you?
it as a maintenance agreement between 4 properties or whatever number of properties.
That sounds like an HOA to me. I mean, the idea being that so long as there's an agreement, everybody agrees to
Well,
it.
we have 1 HOA in the town, I think.
And how's that working out?
No, you're not in it, no. Nobody's here. It's the one on Heritage. Heritage is the only one that we have that's an HOA, I think. Am I right?
I'm not certain, to be honest with you.
I know they're an HOA. I don't think we ever had another HOA. We had talked about having other HOAs because we have stormwater stuff in there.
Yeah.
And they always say, look, no, you're never gonna have people showing up for a meeting to discuss stormwater plans. Yeah. You might have people showing up for sidewalks and stuff like that, or playgrounds. You're not gonna have them show up to talk about ponds.
So, you know, looking at this, they've got, as you said, half of this is in the AQ3, and then you've got these in the AQ6. Although they're only proposing, 2 houses here in the
Yeah.
AQ3? But once this is set, can they subdivide again to get another house in, or no? Because they've got the property for it at
The
13.8.
answer is that they're not precluded from it, but there's gonna be notices on this, there has to be notices on there that if they go and try to do another subdivision, the whole thing's gonna come back in under the conservation, it's gonna come under the other subdivision. This is coming in as a small scale subdivision, which gets them around having to do a lot of stuff, including well testing that. They wanna come back in and get one more house in there, they will have to go ahead and do well testing and put a conservation easement on land and this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, the other question is, with this private road accessing this many houses, once the town signs off on, you're gonna have a maintenance agreement amongst you, that's, the town's out of it, right?
That's for them to fight with themselves.
That's it. They can't come to the town and say, hey, we need some
And they-
oversight.
Yeah, they can't, we have no obligation.
Okay.
We do also, I think we have a note in there saying you can never offer that to us in the future. Frequently what we have is, they seldom have enough, they have to have 50-foot, to become a town road, you have to have a 50-foot wide right of way,
Mhm.
and you have to build it so wide, and I'm gonna say it's 20-foot wide, or maybe it's not, 20-foot wide pavement with certain percentage from pavement,
Mhm.
and they never build it up to that point. It's fairly expensive.
Mhm.
So they probably would not do that.
Well, the way they have these houses set in these lots, they're so far set back from any other houses, I can't see any problem with really anything they wanna do. I can't see anybody living around there having a problem. I don't think anything will change for the surrounding
I
neighbors.
think the only thing that's gonna matter is in the village, that house there, is gonna have a lot more traffic coming past it. And it's not that far off the road. And it looks like it's, 1 car length between the driveway and the house.
Mm.
What's the minimum amount of acreage that you can build on? So
and
once they subdivide this,
It's
Three.
6 acres, I
Three.
think.
And
So-
AP6,
Yeah, the line runs right through.
so it'd be 6 or.
So it's roughly 3 and 6, so roughly you can get one more out of this, maybe one more out of this. You might be able to get 2 more houses in there, theoretically. It's gonna be a lift to get there, but at some point in the future, it may become worthwhile.
Actually, I didn't recognize this before, federal wetlands over here.
Yeah.
So that,
And I think that is one of the things when we talk impervious coverage, and I think that Sean may have picked up on it, when we talk impervious coverage, our definition of impervious coverage includes wetlands. Wetlands are impervious, they don't absorb water. So that has to be recalculated as to how much impervious surface is gonna be on any of the proposed lots. Billy? You were gonna say something? One of the other things brought up, and I think it's not correct, but anyhow, is that this is extremely long getting back in here for fire trucks and that. And in some cases, we require, on commercial buildings, you have to have fire department turnarounds, and you have to have fire department passing areas. I think that on single-family houses, you don't necessarily have to have that. I think it makes sense, but I don't think you have to have it because in general, the state code thinks that single-family houses are an acceptable loss. It's not as significant as if we had an apartment building back there or a big commercial building. There's not as much loss to it, and therefore, I don't think there's a requirement for that or for even subdivisions of single-family houses until a certain threshold. Do we want to go along with the idea that it should be, support that idea of having?
well, on this one, they do have, you can see here, this would be a passing lane, and then here they have a passing.
Right, yep.
Here they've got the turnaround.
Right,
So I-
they give us some that we can do it, yeah.
Yeah. I think also, I don't know, you build a house back there on a private road, you're just taking some of that risk. You've got to know that, you know, getting emergency services to you is, there's a price to live in the woods.
And there's only one way in or out, Victoria?
Victoria, yeah, for these 2 houses, that's the only way you get it out, is this long driveway.
And what about the one in the village?
The one in, yeah, what do you mean? One in the
Yep.
village has to use this driveway too.
Oh,
But
okay.
that one in the village is only, I'm gonna guess 25, 50 feet off the road, off of Victoria Terrace. I think this first one here is over 500 feet, I thought I read 1,700 feet or something like that. The second house is a long ways back.
Mm.
And then if you're talking the barn back here, at this point in time, there is no access to that barn from on this lot.
No, access is off of Sarah Wells.
Right,
to that.
but that barn's being sold to this lot.
But
So-
is it an active barn right now?
That's pretty new.
I think it's a relatively new, I think the intention is for these people here to do that, and the only reason I'm thinking this is already sold or in contract is, nobody in general puts down as a plan, otherwise, that they're gonna have a dwelling that's 3,700 square feet and a 1,000 square foot garage. That's what they're calling for there. So I gotta believe that that's somebody's idea of what they wanna build there. It's not some developer's idea, I'm gonna put a house there.
Mm.
It's not a spec house.
So 2 houses are gonna be for this cul-de-sac.
One house there and one house here.
Right, going down this road.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, so we're adding 2 more houses, I have 2 houses on it already, I'm adding 1 house, 2 houses more, so I'll have house number 3 and house number 4, and this barn is all the way back here,
Who owns the property at the corner?
this one here,
At the beginning of where they wanna build?
Benelli in Tobin is on that side, the other side is Kaplan.
Privately owned?
Privately owned by residents of the village, yes.
So there's gonna be
Okay.
3 additional new house, 3 additional homes?
Two additional,
Two.
two additional, I have 2 and I'm gonna add 2.
We have 2.
And then the other lot of the existing house in the town is, coming off of Sarah Wells, and it's gonna stay off of Sarah Wells.
And that's where the barn is.
No, it is now, but it's not gonna be in the future.
Right, it is now. That's how you access this.
Right.
So
I wanna
how will
get to
it be
that.
in the future?
It's gonna have to be, I'm assuming this person's not gonna keep this house and then continue having this neighbor come across this property all the time to get the reborn.
Okay. Let's just say they do put a couple more houses on here besides the two.
Yep.
Just looking at it as in where are the parents gonna park for the kids and the school buses?
So eventually there's gonna be some kind of a road to get over here.
They're gonna stop on Kip Road and go do that.
Then they're gonna stop on Victoria Terrace.
I mean, on Victoria. So
This is
everybody's gonna take their
Victoria
kids in the
also,
vehicles and park at Victoria Terrace. So now you
This is
can't
the
make lefts and rights out of there for the traffic flow.
Existing home.
Right, that's the way parents do it nowadays.
I know,
Sarah
that's
Wells.
what I'm saying, so.
So Sarah Wells must come in here, I guess?
Or they're gonna drive the kids all the way to
Sarah will
school,
continue
but
down to
the other option.
Just off of Sarah
So
Wells.
what's this?
Cause now you're literally putting whoever's living here,
Yep.
Goes back.
those few cars, whether it be 2, 3, 4, whatever,
Can't see
in front of this individual's house.
Yes. Yeah, you are.
Nice, I mean, but it's.
So I don't know why
I think
they're
that's
showing on this map, because.
So we're suggesting that we have a, make that,
I think
they should
this
make
is
that
an
driveway wider.
existing
Well,
It is.
business.
How about the bus drive up here and pick up
I
the kids
think
from
it
in?
is.
The school bus is not gonna go up a private
forget
driveway,
the
school
name.
buses will go, school buses will not go on new roads in the town until
So
they're dedicated
this-
to the town.
Yeah, this house,
But this is a cul-de-sac.
so this
It's a,
door
it's
is
a
part of this
private, it's a
house.
private driveway cul
You see this lot right here? This is gonna be lot number one. And
I know,
current-
but currently,
Currently, oh, I see what you're saying, yes.
School buses, number one, will not go on anything that's not a municipal road.
Driveway to this
And number
house.
two is they will not go in anything they have to
Driveway continues
back
back to
up
this
on.
barn,
mm-hmm,
but this will be the new lot. This will be the road coming off of Victoria,
mm-hmm.
this road.
It's
comes
kind
back.
of weird here
The house
because
here,
I
another
don't
road.
think that's 18 foot wide. That doesn't look 18 foot wide to me.
But I agree, this is,
But
No,
certainly,
that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
So by the time you line
That's
up
a
everybody
right.
over here,
yep,
And
It's
you
kind
know,
of-
you're
you
you're
have to
over
see
the
there's
traffic jam on
fencing
Industrial
Yeah.
Drive, but yet,
I think that
Animals
this
too.
driveway here
How's that?
needs to be improved at least 18 feet wide.
You know better than
Because
me.
it's two lanes.
So this individual, if he owns this now, he just couldn't say, I don't wanna do this anymore.
Well, I
I'm gonna
guess.
put a house here.
I guess,
This
and
person-
whoever buys this is gonna be
Here,
responsible for the
we,
if there's a choice of where the bus is gonna stop on what road, I'd rather it stop on Victoria Terrace, because it's not as traveled as Sarah Wells Trail.
right, it's not gonna stop at Sarah Wells, it's gonna stop here.
This guy is.
Okay, and there's no doubt about it, it's gonna stop out here on Victoria Terrace.
All this way around here.
And look, the width of this road starts out at maybe 12 foot and then goes up to 18 foot here for the turnaround. But it seems like what they really should do is
I'm,
make it wider
there's
all
a
the way up,
couple of different
especially when you go
farms
for
off
housing, but I
Sarah.
don't know that the state
Yeah.
fire
way
code
in the
says
back
you have
like
to.
that.
Yeah.
Back on that, Neil,
What's your
when we
face
just
is?
talked about emergency services and the signs of the driveway,
So,
can they leave that as a
Yes.
shale or stone driveway, or do they?
It depends on how good the shell or stone driveway is, can handle the ladder truck, what goes in there, Louis, ladder truck or the, what
I mean, you gotta get everything, you gotta have your.
I know, but that's what I'm trying, well,
You've
heavy
got
risk is.
police, you've got fire.
No, no, I'm trying to,
Ambulance.
I wanna know the heaviest weight,
Oh, fire
BJ
truck.
Earhart. who
which,
sold
and it's
this
about
to
80,000 pounds.
Depending on the tanker and the ladder, yeah,
Yeah.
could be.
Okay, so it has to handle 80,000 pounds with the radius of the ladder truck. We'll check the radius. So let's check the
He
radius
has one,
for the ladder
he
truck.
has one full
Well, that
office
is, okay.
dedicated.
Would that be us or that's planning?
Planning board, but we're making a suggestion to the
Making a
board.
suggestion, okay. And the other thing is, just because
All the stuff I've got.
we can't mandate they maintain that road, because if it's all rutted up and everything, we can't get a truck back there any longer.
Sure, what we are gonna say is that it has to be a
It's
maintenance
gonna be
free,
a
driveway.
single,
and how they maintain, how they
Present it.
enforce it
and then
themselves.
there'll be a single house
And
here proposed.
Does the town, can the town inspect that?
So
in the
they
name of
will have
public
to
security.
figure out how this
The answer would be
works.
probably would not.
Part of their property.
We could, I guess.
I would,
I think so.
if I'm the fire chief,
House and stuff.
I wanna know
Yeah, well,
that every
Okay,
road
so the
my
only
chauffeur's
thing-
gotta get down is gonna be accessible,
Yeah.
he's not gonna
And
get the
this
rig stuck, he's not gonna
has
destroy
When you say
access to
a
the barn.
$1.2 million Cadillac.
Yeah.
So,
Does
it-
I don't know,
Does it
does
get
the
to
chief
his
do
property,
that
there's no
kind of
turnaround back there?
Probably not, because that's probably
These
private
guys
property,
here
kind
go
of,
for a ride. They're not gonna-
private road anyhow.
So what
And
happens
so,
with the school
if
buses
the
for
chief's
the
not gonna
kids?
do that, does the town have the right to say, you must
So they all
maintain
like in the
this
road
road?
by.
We are gonna say that.
Okay.
And then, once we say that,
Do we
make sure
have we
everything-
enforce it? I don't know.
please don't tell me
It's
you don't
gonna
have the
be
building
taken
inspector.
care of.
That's the
Right,
only reason we
say
do
the
it.
width of that road is
How many building
wide,
inspectors we got?
feet wide.
Two.
And besides keeping a road dedicated,
And when
tree
you got
branches
some,
too.
you know,
Right,
yeah.
Sure, you gotta keep
Yeah.
it 12 foot wide and 6 high.
Going in and out,
Absolutely.
right, you turn around and go
And
back.
I know I had trouble with Legoland at some of the points in the back where the radius
Well,
was
no,
too
the
small.
individual things for the kids.
And we had, that was taken care of.
Must be.
I had a lot more control
It's,
because of that big curve.
Christmas.
Interesting design, pretty nice.
All right, so we do care about the radius of the driveway and that has to be looked at for the trucks, by emergency vehicles.
A maintenance agreement
Road like you're
that
coming into town.
ensures emergency service vehicles can access.
Yeah. Yeah, safety.
It would just be those two lots concerned though, because the original lot, he'll take care of his own road,
Mhm.
coming in off the Sarah.
Except these two lots are using it also.
Okay.
No, oh yeah, I'm sorry, that one, yeah,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
but
these two
the-
lots here,
sure.
but these two lots existing
They're-
over here are gonna have an issue too.
Well, they're gonna have to work that out.
Yes. Yep. There was some discussion at the planning board about whether they're gonna remove this road here or whatever. I don't think we really care. That's not like a neighbor issue.
No, because the person that owns the middle lot is gonna have access to the barn. So they're going to wanna make sure that the access coming in is gonna go all the way back to that barn if he's gonna maintain a business, which would benefit him,
This one here.
yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna put some kind of roadway back to the barn, there's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, because that's a workable barn, I guess.
Yeah.
When you say business, I
We
just
lease
have,
it out.
well, now I have a concern about using a private drive that is a shale road, and you could, like, if you're gonna do riding lessons and stuff on the weekend, you could have a lot of traffic on.
No, it's not back there. It's probably a private barn, very minimal traffic. Yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about that. That's not gonna be a big commercial business.
So it's not big enough to be
No.
okay.
No. Mm.
Okay.
But you could do horse boarding.
They could.
Yeah, they could do horse boarding, but I think it's a very small barn. So if they have some of their own horses, the trainers, then,
Yeah,
you
that barn,
know,
that barn looks to me to be at least 5,000 or more square feet. Just judging by the house here, that's,
So it's
37? yeah, it's at least that, would you say? I think so.
5,000.
Yeah.
So how many that's a lot.
Just looking at the size there, and compared to this 3,700 square foot house being proposed,
Mhm.
it looks like it's at least 50% more. It does look like it's 5,000 square foot.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the overall view.
Nick?
That's big.
Yeah, but do we know what kind of
Well-
barn it is?
Hmm?
Do we know what kind of barn it is?
Well, I'm gonna find out tomorrow.
No, really.
I mean,
we're-
I'm
we're-
gonna take right up there and
No,
see.
I don't
We're
know.
thinking there's stalls and everything in there, it might just be a barn to store
You're right.
vehicles or whatever.
I
It
really
could be anything,
believe it
but
is.
Once we approve this, the farm does not have to come back in to put up farm buildings
Yeah, it's already there.
or to put up a farm building, a riding, indoor riding arena. It's your God-given right to do it as a farm.
You know, it crosses a certain point, if you have people come there, what about fire protection, the sprinklers and stuff like that?
Yep.
No, I don't
That's-
think
that's-
any riding arena that I know of has a sprinkler system. None, yeah, none of them do.
If for no other reason that they probably are not heated enough to keep them from
One
freezing,
day just for
in this
that.
case, they have real expensive,
One did just for ducks.
Dust.
system, yeah.
Dust.
And they have to have a tank,
Ah.
underground tank to hold the water and this and that and everything. Okay. Fire department, and this,
Yeah, piqued my interest.
all right, Carol,
What?
horses.
Yeah,
I forget my, if I board horses there, I'm still agriculture, right?
Mhm.
I think that if I give lessons on my own horses, I'm still agriculture.
See?
I think if I have somebody come in with their horses, for a day event, I no
So
longer
said it's an
agriculture.
indoor,
Pardon?
so said it's an indoor.
It's not an indoor, I think that they have it right here. I'm just trying to figure out when they turn into a non-agricultural use.
No, if they've got horses there, well, it depends on how many they have.
Why wouldn't,
She said it's an indoor.
whether you have 1 or 5, it's still agriculture. With sheep in there, it's agriculture.
Yeah, well, is that what it's zoned for now?
It's used as, it's probably is zoned that way. It's probably zoned RU, and it's being used.
Because
as-
literally, Sarowell's trails up and down horse farms all over
I
the
know,
place, and
yeah.
some of them you can't even see from the
Right.
road.
And this one you can't. This one qualifies for that.
Interesting.
All right, anything else, any other concerns?
Nope, none from me.
Okay.
No.
Solar Liberty Energy. Got that, Chris, or not?
I just have stuff from last time we met.
And that may move along. What we're really looking for is the,
Thank you.
I got a bunch of stuff, but it's all the small maps.
yeah. All right, here's maybe the best picture we have. It's not great, but. Okay, that's Solar Liberty. It's on Milburn, and they're proposing all those solar. And the question is, the visual, at this point in time, what we're really looking at is the visual impact. The last time they did a visual impact study for us, they said that their program that they used does not allow them to put trees in there, or so they didn't. So now the question is, where do we have to, where do we want to take pictures from or take shots from and do cross sections of this?
Well, you've got, the name of this road here.
Yep, that's,
Skolza,
goes in there, not that one.
right at the beginning of it, Skolza.
Skolza, no, we're talking this one going down, that's Moonlight.
Moonlight.
Oh, that's
Is it Moonlight?
not off of, not
No.
off of Milburn.
No, it's not up in Milburn, it's off
Off
of.
of V-Tree.
Yep,
Can I see that?
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's Moonlight Trail,
right.
and that one has houses on it. And then there was Milburn Road itself, which has a few houses on it. And then, Vertree,
Yep,
V-Tree.
Storms, these are all the surrounding.
yep.
And we were saying that, just what were they gonna see, and we were worried about where.
Yep.
And I think, weren't they gonna do visuals from these roads?
Well, I think what they're looking for right now, next week, I think is where do we want them to do it from? We usually pick out spots. Here, and, identify where and go from there.
Now, somebody also mentioned taking it from like Northgate also, because that's gonna affect Northgate also, all those houses. I mean, that could be in direct line of the reflection from it, all those houses on Northgate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Northgate's, way up on the hill.
Yeah.
Pretty far away, closer, yeah, maybe because of the topography. You're right.
Because
that-
it's topography, it's certainly looking down at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how much they wanna put in.
say it again?
That's how much they wanna put in.
Yeah,
So
that's a whole
there's
field of
three
Yeah,
houses on
fields,
Milburn?
fields.
Pardon?
Yeah, isn't that near the Ark Farm?
Yeah, it's definitely right along that road that goes down to there.
All right.
Yeah, it's before that.
Mhm.
I believe there's 3 houses directly on Milburn, that face it. And then the one on the corner, she has her own solar there. But, and then the one they just redid down by Oran's Farm across the street from it. Is there two houses down that road
I think there's one
on the right side?
on the right side. Then you had all on the left.
And then next to the
Oran's
field, you
Farm.
have, Ferremi's property.
Yeah, I think you have to worry about when you get down past, when you get past it and looking back at it too. Like when you get over to Aaron's again and then look back,
Mhm.
I think that's also,
I'm not sure if there's one or two houses past where the solar's gonna go. I know there's one.
there's one house on the right-hand side, and
Yeah.
then Aaron has about 6 apartments in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's
He's got
like
his
down
house.
in the,
yeah, but they're down, but I think they may be going back, they do go back up, I know that at some point, I know.
but not the housing, just the land.
Uh,
Because when you go down, there's her barns and,
Yep,
if,
I thought
didn't
the
you have a
barn-
fire down there or something?
I don't know, I was
The
gonna say,
barn, the
that was
house
on
on
to
the
the right,
right.
that was on the other
The
side.
one on the right was the barn there.
Yeah.
and fire.
Yeah, and, they have all those apartments like down. And
Yeah, I don't think
then
they'd
it's the
be
end, you can't go
affected.
anywhere from there.
Mhm.
You gotta turn around and go back up.
Yeah, I don't think that the housing there will be affected,
Mm-mm, no, it's kind of,
because it's
because when you go
downhill.
this way, when you go to the right, when you go down there, then she has contiguous fields that just keep going and keep
Yeah.
going, and they back up
They go over down to you,
right,
Yeah.
right to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if they're looking for addresses, 14 Milburn, 17 Milburn, 13 Moonlight Trail, and 18 Storms, all of those are adjacent to this field, and that would give us, now, yeah, maybe something off of Northgate as well. Where do you think? Where on Northgate? You're looking at the
That
fields
was
right
brought up
here.
at the town board.
Yeah, I think most of Northgate on the back, it would have to be down here, because I think most of Northgate at the end,
That goes back down.
but it also has trees behind it.
It does a lot.
Trees behind the houses.
So how about,
I think it's gonna be out there as you're getting to there, where there are no trees yet.
16?
Yeah, that's probably it.
So we can ask for visuals from these
Yeah.
locations.
Yeah,
Isn't
I don't know.
it these past ones?
Say it again?
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
think-
is.
Yeah, it's further
Yeah.
down.
It's further away.
Yeah.
it's actually off Reservoir Road
Right.
and
Yeah,
connects to that property.
What about off of Skolza Terrace?
I think I think that's too.
Does Skolza go up from Milburn?
Yes.
So,
you have a
Uh,
whole
the
intricate
one right
little
on the
thing in there.
beginning,
You
the
have that
first,
mini sink, what is it, that mini something or other trail that goes nowhere? And you've got Vetri, you've got Storms, you have August, you have all
Right.
those little roads all in there.
You
I
put
don't even know
those
where
down.
Milburn is.
Milburn?
It's off Reservoir Road.
That's what Orange Farm is actually on, Milburn.
Milburn? Oh, all
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
okay. So what are they doing in the solar farm, to the right?
Right across.
As you're
Yeah,
going down
you're
there.
going over Milburn,
Ah,
the whole right
So
side.
it'll be,
Martin Knopp used to use that
So
for.
they should be doing something on Storms Road too.
Hey,
Well,
I
no,
put
not
down
hay,
18
corn.
corn, yeah.
corn, corn.
And then,
Storms
Mr.
Moonlight.
Johnson uses it for corn.
Mm-hmm.
The hay used to be across the street from us, part of Ren's property,
Mhm.
and the houses they built on
Yeah,
Milburn
yeah.
was that
But these
property
people will
and
see
two
this.
on Skolza.
Yep.
They weren't making enough to
So-
support the workers with the hay,
Mm.
so they decided to sell it and build.
Mm.
Pardon?
Who will we give these addresses to?
Let's give them to Grace, you can put them in the.
So the other address
Email.
is the first house on the corner of Skolza and Milburn.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The first house on the corner of Skolza and Milburn, that's Rizel's
Yeah.
house. I don't know the number of it,
Um,
but she had to change from Milburn to Skolza, her address.
Milburn's a dead end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it'd be 59,
From Skull
59
Terrace.
Skolza, but I've
Halfway
already, yeah.
through,
From
you can
Skull
split
Terrace
off.
is dead end, but from Skull's
I
back.
mean, she already has her
Go
own
Skull
solar,
Terrace, make a
it's on the
right, come out
ground,
on
she's got
Reservoir
big
Road.
solar
Yeah.
From Milburn,
panels.
and Vetri could go for there.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been down, what was the street you said, not Storms,
Vetri,
August Road?
August.
August, yeah.
I haven't been down that way in a while, I know they did a lot of building down there.
But it's so hazard over there. You have a nice house and then you got a shack. It's,
The whole area
the whole
back there,
area
yeah.
is, trust me.
Even Vetri. I mean,
Vetri was like summer homes at one point.
The whole thing was, it
Well,
was,
that's
it was
just it,
something like that.
yeah, my cousin's kid has a house back there on that side street that was a hunting cabin,
Mhm.
and they turned it into a house.
Yes, it was, yeah, part of them.
But I know there's a lot of woods.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on this? I think we're good.
Did you do
They
the
gotta
house
go and do
on
the,
Milburn right next to the
site stuff
field
before the
for
trees.
Randy's
That's
house?
why they're trying to get this done next week, so they can get out there before the leaves are on. Really
Yeah,
bad.
good idea. You see, it's.
Because I don't know wait for Remy's if they've sold that house or the kids kept it or what.
The leaves are yours or mine?
That was yours.
All right, so let's do IWS right now.
I hate when they do that.
And what we're looking for is the IWS for the scoping document from the town board. What I wanted to give you, we'll pass it out.
Beat the
Yes.
hell out of it.
Yeah, I am.
There's a consent agreement final order from the EPA on this property. A while back, there was a problem with their stormwater coming off, and the EPA came up with a consent decree with IWS that, hey, your stormwater is coming off the property and it's contaminated because it's coming across your blacktop and everything, and so therefore it's industrial waste, and you have to do something about that. And so consequently, I think when we look at this scoping document, that has to be considered, what did they do, if anything, and how are they complying with that nowadays?
Does anyone need a copy of the document by
I
anybody?
have it.
Does everybody have the scoping document?
Because this is what needs to be reviewed.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I have it. I printed it. So this is exactly what we talked about at the last meeting,
Right.
about the stormwater coming off, and it has to be assumed that it is contaminated. And we said, not by fault of the applicant, it's simply the nature of the business, but that we still can't let that get into the groundwater.
Right. And so as of right now, I think they still have no stormwater. They have a stormwater drain there that goes down to a 12-inch pipe and then just goes off their property with no treatment.
Well,
And
that's
what
nice for
the-
them, but that's not.
And that's what the EPA noticed and went with. They had a $6,000 fine, which is insignificant, but then they had to go ahead and fix this and work through with the DEC and that. So I think it still has not been done, and if it has been done, then they should, I think, address that in the scoping document.
Well, if that has not been done,
How could they proceed?
I think that has to be part of this agreement, this approval. All right, so the reason we're here right now is because they have to get a permit from the town board, from the town board. And the town board has gotten, where they paused decked it, and they said, we have to do a scoping document. So a scoping document means that this is what you have, this is what you're gonna have to review and report back to the town board on it. And so I think the question that we're being asked tonight is the proposed scoping document that was prepared by Kelly Norton, right? Kelly did? As the one prepared by Kelly, is that adequate? Do we have any comments for it, or additions, or whatever, anything like that?
well,
Go ahead.
I went through it, Neil, and,
We did. Go by page or whatever.
okay, looking on page number 4, and impact on land, and it's possible that this proposed action can be the removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. We talked about this, we didn't know how much was actually going to come out, but we do have to assume that whatever is coming out is contaminated. I did the numbers real quick, at about 2,200 pounds per yard dirt, 820 yards comes out to 52 dump trucks. I wouldn't have thought that they were gonna move that much earth. They're not building a basement for this building, but that said, First of all, 52 dump trucks is a problem for our roads,
Mhm.
possibly, which have not been, we don't have a satisfactory answer to the road going from Hartley onto 17M. Also, I wanna make sure this material is not contaminated material, is going back into Goshen, on a Goshen site.
So where's it being removed to?
Doesn't say.
Yeah, I know, I think that's what we are requesting, Louis. Yeah,
Not yet, still reading.
okay. Yeah, that's the one. Do you have a copy of it?
No, I'm,
No. This is, we're not looking at that right now, Louis, we're looking at,
I know.
that's what we're really looking at right now.
Oh, not the EPA.
Anybody else need a copy of it? I have one more.
Oh,
The scoping document?
yeah.
You have the scoping document, John?
No.
No, all right, we have another one for John?
I'll
No.
share it, I'll share it.
All right, good.
So that was, where's that dirt going? We don't have an answer to that. Impacts on surface water, you've already, that's exactly what we just talked about. I have it here, the soil erosion or silt that's coming off presumed to be contaminated and needs to be, make sure it's not going into the groundwater or to on the adjacent neighbor's property.
Okay, I think the part you're on right now is the part that justifies why we have to go for the scope. But I think if we go back, I think roughly page 9 starts the actual, this is what you have to study. I think that was all the justifications for
Okay,
getting to that study. So I think just before that, on page 8 or so, is the executive summary, it tells them how to write this up.
okay.
It kind of tells, this is what we want. And now we're at this,
Bottom of page 9, if soil is exported from the site, identification where it is being taken shall be provided. So although it's not in there yet, that's what they're going to tell us.
yeah.
And must tell us in order for the town to give a permit. Again, just assuming it's contaminated because it's the nature of the business.
So I think the answer also, if the soil is being exported from the site, not just identify where it's being taken, but also testing on it to determine
And testing.
what's involved in it. So I think we have to add testing on that. That's under the potential impacts, third bullet point, the last section there.
On that point, I don't mean to skip too far ahead, but we had talked about, we don't know what kind of contaminants are in the soil. We're assuming it's the worst of the worst because you have to assume the worst, heavy metals, whatever. The construction workers that are gonna come and put this thing in, you know, these are guys that are just doing a job. They don't know what they're walking into. And we talked about doing bore tests to know if there is actual hazmat material on the site before they start digging this stuff up, aerosolizing it and breathing it in. I didn't see anywhere in here that it says they're going to do that. Is that something we, and the planning board even talked about this.
I think on page 12, we can probably talk that, they talk about impacts to human health. I think in general, they talk more about impacts to human health after the fact. I think we're gonna have to talk about it during the process.
Good point. It did say after the fact, and which I thought was, again, we're nowhere in here to talk about the construction workers, guys that are just showing up to do the job.
Or the ones that are gonna continue working there.
Of course.
Okay, so, we did, page 9, we're happy with then, otherwise, we talked about the testing. Page 10,
They tested,
they tested, yeah, no, we're not, they have to test it.
but I thought it was tested already.
The soil is not being tested, the question is, as they excavate, where they're gonna build this in the back, you know what we're talking about? Where they excavate there, if they're gonna remove the soil off the site, what is the condition of that soil?
Correct, that the leak, that the runoff is going onto.
Yeah, actually, with the part where you're gonna dig down with the foundation in,
Where the runoff is going now.
yes, yeah.
But we already know that the runoff has contamination.
On this, on the other side, yes, we run it off the site, yes. The amount on the side of the building there, where they're gonna pick this dirt, dig this dirt up to put this ramp for the truck to be loaded, we
No.
don't know what's in there.
I'm saying that it's already been confirmed that there's
There is some contamination, right?
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Again, why are we moving forward on this if they haven't cleared that up?
Because we're telling them they have to go ahead and confirm that. They have to actually come up with some determination as to what's there and how much they have to do. Like when McBride, when all those apartments were done at McBride's in the village, the determination there was that yes, it's contaminated soil from brides being there, but it was not so contaminated that it had to be removed from the property. But if it was removed from the property, it had to be handled as hazardous.
Right.
Right, and so I think that's, what we're trying to get to is the same kind of thing. Because what happened was we caught that going into the town, it was actually being transported into the cemetery going out of town. And so we got that, we called the DEC up at that point in time because they were bringing it into the town, and that's where that determination was made at that point.
So where this is leaking out is going on somebody else's property. So now they're gonna have to get permission from somebody else's property to go on their property, dig all this out and test it.
No, we're not even talking about the testing on that property, we're talking about the testing.
But that's where it's leaking out, you know.
Where it's going to.
Yes, it is. Yes, some of it's going in.
Yeah.
That's going into the water.
Yeah, that's what it's.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what the
I know.
EPA.
That's what the EPA made that determination, that's correct. So what we're looking at now, Louis, is, here's that pipe here, I think.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and it goes right out there, is what they do, the pipe goes right there and it just runs it out on the ground. What we're saying right now is that when you build.
But that pipe doesn't run to the water.
No, they say, they made a determination that it goes to a ditch or whatever, and then it goes to the Walker River.
Correct. That ditch is on somebody else's property.
Right.
And so all that liquid is going on somebody else's property.
Right, and so we're saying they have to fix that now. What we are saying in addition though, Louis, is that they're going to be building this thing back here, and they're gonna be back, and when they excavate this, we don't know what the condition of those soils are right now.
Right.
So test this soil right here, determine, do you have to take that off and treat it as hazardous, or can you just remove it anywhere?
But that's for their expansion.
That's for their expansion, that's.
I'm talking about what's happening right now, that water's running on somebody
Yes.
else's property.
Mhm.
And the town is allowing them to operate with that hazardous water, or whatever you wanna call it, going
Yeah.
on somebody else's property.
I think as a
So
result,
why?
I think that's what we're asking is, look, and I think up until now, I'm not sure that the town has recognized the fact, that certainly it's been somewhat denied that there's issues by the applicant, that there's issues out there. I think the consent decree, whatever it's called, from the EPA, where it's signed by IWS, saying that they concur and they have to do something about it. I think on the basis of that, we're saying, we gotta take care of it right now, and as part of this permit, you have to take care of it before we
Yeah,
start
because
going
they got
forward.
a $6,000 fine, but
That's my
that
point.
doesn't change anything.
So why are we
Yes.
discussing them expanding without them fixing the problem in life? Because this expansion can go on for another 6, 8 months. In the meantime, all that other contaminants is still going
Sure,
on.
it should be, I agree with you, it should be fixed right now, it should have been fixed actually,
So where is
several
Frank
years
on
ago.
this as far as saying, stop?
I'm not sure that Frank is aware of it.
He's not aware of it.
I'm not sure Frank ever got anything like this before. I think that we're submitting it,
It says the town's taking lead agency on this.
that's on the scoping for this edition, not on the part that's about the EPA's notice of violation consent decree.
On this?
That's a separate thing.
And to my understanding, there are two issues here. One is to get the permit to take in 670,000 tons MSW, the other is to expand this building. And I got hung up on this too. They are two separate issues. And by the way, it's not that we didn't know, it's that we did know and turned a blind eye to it forever. Phil Cantorino spoke about this at length.
About what?
About that this thing, they've been operating basically without a permit for quite some time.
Right,
And so, yes, let's make sure that this thing, I mean, forget about the money, we're talking about polluting the groundwater.
Exactly my point.
I'm with
So
you.
why are we letting them continue? I mean, after this evening's meeting, maybe Frank should know about this and say,
I think that we can submit, we can give one of these to Grace, who will possibly give it to Frank, or I can run it into Frank tomorrow or something. Yes.
I think that was brought up at the town board meeting at one point, was that, is it feasible that you shut down this operation as it is a necessary,
yes.
garbage facility, okay, so then where does it go if not here? And I'm with you, by the way.
Where does it go? Right
Yeah.
across the street to the county, or there are other IWA's place in Newburgh? But in the meantime, you'll see how much quicker they resolve
Get
this
to
problem.
moving. I'm with you, man.
certainly,
the thing is, at this point, we've got something they want. They need this permit from the town in order, there was something to do with, was it the DEC, Neil? There was some reason that they were doing this now.
sure,
I think it's just to even get this,
Yeah.
this expansion done.
And I think it's also so that you get more throughput, it's gonna be more, efficient.
And that's the other thing, they wanted to increase their DEC permit to
Yes.
take in more MSW, and they wanted to shift off some of the recyclables
Right.
and turn it into MSW. And so they need the town to sign off on this. But, so right now, finally, the town has a lever to pull,
Yes.
and if they're just dumping this stormwater out onto the neighboring properties and polluting our groundwater, yeah.
If it wasn't hazardous, I wouldn't care.
I
Let's
know.
work with them.
I understand.
But, again,
So I think that, I don't know that Frank has ever been aware of this consent decree. I don't know, I think we give it to him, and we can hand it to him and say, here's what we have. As a stormwater administrator, I think he's responsible for that on behalf of the town.
okay.
Okay, so we can do that. So if one of you don't need this at the end of the night, if one of you can give that to Grace.
Did
Well, you
they
wanna give it to her, we'll have it
provide
show up tomorrow.
the notice of intent, to the town?
Yeah, we're gonna give this to the town.
Okay.
So that they see that the EPA has made that, and in fact, IWS signed off saying that they recognize that there's an
Exactly.
issue.
Because $6,000 to them is nothing.
No,
That-
that's
right,
not-
well, that was my point.
Right,
Exactly.
you pay that anytime, I know that.
Every week,
Yeah,
and to string along.
sure, that'd be easy, almost, I mean, that's painless almost,
Yes.
I agree. But I think that they have to show, Frank has to respond to that, I think, or somebody has to respond to that. And I think going forward on this permit, I think that it needs to be addressed before the permits given out by the town board, I think.
Absolutely.
Right,
I think this would take precedent.
Yeah.
I certainly the biggest part of it, I think, so, yes,
And not that, we'll take care of this at the same time we take care of that.
I understand that, I don't
Okay.
disagree with you.
All right.
While we're on the water issue, and I feel like I'm beating the dead horse here, but everybody knows that any day it rains, that road, it gets filled with that leachate that's getting dragged off of the site. Is that enough to be concerned about, as that is now washing into the sides of the road, just as you're pushing stormwater off the site?
So you got, yes, but also you got his across the street neighbor that is in the garbage business. that may-
On-time disposal.
on-time disposal, that, you know, stuff may be leaking out of theirs onto the same road, so we can't put 100% of the blame of the sticky on the road when his neighbor does the same thing across the street.
I agree, I'm just thinking that when it rains on any day, and because I travel this road sometimes 2-3 times a day, when you come down, if it's raining, you can see, just like bringing mud out onto the road, coming out of IWS, it's absolutely their entrance that they're bringing, and I've said this before, it's not that it's their fault, they're doing it intentionally, it's just the nature of the business. And I don't know that there's a way around it.
But it may not be them. It
Well,
may be the trucking companies that are leaking oil, their tanks are leaking for whatever reason. It may not be the product inside the trailer alone.
Well, what he is saying is that you can tell that it's coming from vehicles that are accessing IWS, because you can see it coming out of there.
And only that,
Leaving.
Leave it or
Leaving,
going,
yeah.
right, yeah.
and just that the smell that comes off of it
Oh,
when
yeah.
it rains, it's obviously that leachate garbage juice.
Okay, so, look, one of the things would make sense, and it's not that simple, I know it's not, but, look, if we could have a tire wash or something like that, as they're leaving. Certainly at Legoland, at one point in time, they sat there and they sprayed each of the tires and the other for dirt.
Yeah.
Is there any way, and I know you can't, Louis, but
No.
is there anything else you could do like that to clean it up? Well, certainly, we could do that during the summer, we could do that, where you have some kind of water bath, but you're not gonna get that during the winter.
You ever put water in grease?
Slippery, and that's another
It doesn't
part.
come off.
The other problem
You
with
have
that-
to soap it, scrub it, and it just, the wheel washing won't work on that kind of material.
So is there anything that would work?
I don't know.
I will say this, as you come out of the site, and now by the time you get down to the light on 17M, the road is no longer full of that gunk, so distance seems to be, Now, if they had the room, they had a couple of acres and they could drive along
Do
road,
laps.
they would wipe it off on their property,
Right.
and then it becomes a stormwater issue, which is caught by the stormwater drains, and it's done. They don't have that type of property to work with.
The answer that they're not gonna like is hire a sweeper truck. You
Alright,
can
so-
put like an agent in the water, like when you clean your vehicles,
Yeah, don't,
and have a sweeper truck there all the time like other places do. I think Tilcon Quarry has a sweeper truck there. From the time they open
You see 'em,
till the time they close, there's a sweeper truck there nonstop.
Right,
So
so-
maybe they have to do the same thing for that road.
Right, so I think we're on.
But I'm sorry, but again, it shouldn't only be them. It's the guy across the street too that's adding to that road.
Mhm. So let's, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just my concern there is what is getting into the surface water. I mean, it's
Right.
ERB, that's what I'm concerned about, is
So,
the
so
environment.
that's where we're at. I think we're actually at page number 10 right now, which is number 2, which is surface water. And I think we're saying that one of the potential impacts is the removal of materials from the site, on the site, from the site, by the vehicles leaving the property is one of the potential impacts. And under mitigation, then we're asking them to propose measures to mitigate the identified environmental impacts that will be discussed and addressed, including the following. So I think there's, all right, how you gonna deal with this stuff coming out of your site on vehicles? And you come up with an answer, or propose an answer. And that's what I think we're asking them to do, or can ask for them to do.
Can ask?
We are, I think we should be asking for that. Right. Okay?
Right.
I
Kind of like mandated or else.
Well, no, I agree, we should, and you and, this ERB is gonna suggest that to the town board, and they can
How
ban that
on
up.
earth would they mitigate something like that?
I don't know the answer, and,
You know, when you've got trucks going in and out, the stuff that's coming out there, I mean, how can you fix
They
that?
have other facilities.
we're not the only solid waste facility around, and we're not the only in the country even, and so
Right.
somebody somewhere's been trying to do this, I would think.
So like Chris said, there's distance, if you had distance, take the county line road. Okay? They've got a long road all the way in, so you don't see it tracking out on the road. And a lot of it stays within their facility because they have the room to do that,
Yeah, IWS is right on the road.
right on the road.
So I think the other thing with surface water we're gonna talk about, I think, is that the EPA consent decree, and how's that affect what they should be doing there, and how are they complying with the consent decree? That would be a form of mitigation. How have they fixed that? It's not just stuff leaving the property through the storm drains, it's also stuff leaving on tires. But there's two different sides to that, I think, when we talk about potential impacts to the surface water. Anybody else have anything on surface water? Page 11.
We already talked about roadway contamination,
Yeah, historic stuff we
Leachate.
talked about.
sub B, paragraph B. But we did talk about, contaminating the roadway. I don't know what the answer is, but I'd like to see it addressed.
Yeah, I think the answers, in general, we're asking them to come up with answers.
Yeah, as they should.
Come up with mitigation measures, how else can it be done nationwide, who else is doing it?
How long have they been there?
IWS, I don't know, that facility, a long time. That
And this
facility,
was
probably 79
never
maybe,
brought
something like
up.
that. Pardon?
This was never brought up.
You know what's interesting? I was thinking about it just as you were saying that before. I think if you were to build this facility today,
It would be different.
exactly,
Sure.
and I don't know that you can retrofit this facility to bring it up to today's standards, which is
Well,
An
because of
industrial-
its location.
exactly, and the size. They're using their entire footprint, it's 3 acres, and the entire thing is being used. Unlike, Lou was just saying, that the county site, they got a lot of land out there, and they don't have these issues.
End of the county.
So,
So,
how to get an existing site into today's standard, I don't know that it can be done. But then, why am I giving them an increase
Why
in
make it
MSW?
worse by?
Yeah, exactly, which is this is what,
That's it.
this is what Phil Cantorino was jumping up and down about, saying, you can't deal with what's there, you're gonna give them even more.
Right. And so, to the degree it's whatever percentage it increases, it makes it that much worse. Okay, I think, down at number 5, page 11, number 5, traffic and transportation center, we're still back on the Hartley Road intersection. I think one of the things they have to really do is at least show, by engineering, the potential for vehicles to make turns onto Hartley Road and off of Hartley Road, particularly right-hand turns. And what can be done to do that, and that we know the potential impacts. Now come up with the possible mitigation. At this point in time, we're not necessarily saying they have to provide that mitigation if it means road changes or design changes at the intersection. I still think, to a large degree, or to some degree, just having stop bars or whatever,
Exactly.
far enough
Further
back,
yes.
where you could stop and then people could make turns from there.
And there are places that have that.
I know, I go through Walton every so often. I just did on Monday, and I said, I wanna stop here, because they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had the trailer behind me with the stock, and I needed that extra lane. I went into the other lane otherwise, except the stop bar is far enough back that nobody's there and I can make that.
Mm-hmm.
It actually
That
makes,
to me would be the absolute easiest solution.
yeah.
So the stop bar would be pulled back on which road?
You stop on
directions.
Hartley Road,
On Hartley?
On
because
Hartley
people,
and on 17.
and on 17M coming from Middletown.
Well,
You wouldn't need it.
that goes back to the state road issue.
I
You
know.
wouldn't need it on 17M, honestly.
Why?
If the line is back on Hartley Road coming on 17M, that line is already pushed back, argument say 20 feet. So you could still stay within the line,
No,
the
but what-
lane, and make that left. Because
No,
the
what
traffic.
about
No, I'm not
making the
worried about
right?
The rights are a
The
problem.
right, if you're making the right,
If I'm
and
coming out
you
of
got
Hartley,
people parked at the light, they should be back further so you can make that turn.
if I'm making a right-hand turn coming out of Hartley,
Coming out of Hartley on 17M,
saying if they stopped 30, 40 feet back from where they are
back from
now,
where the light is on
that
the,
tractor trailer coming out of Hartley
Heading
Road.
east.
From Middletown to Goshen.
right.
Okay, gotcha.
Wouldn't that be better?
It would help, sure. It would allow them to go in the other lane, absolutely.
And
And the
that would be something that would be an easy fix.
If you can get
That for a gallon of paint.
the thing, and the
But
thing,
you'd have to redo the timing on the lights too. Because by the time they take off, you're allowing one tractor trailer to go through, and now
Well,
it's
who
stopped again.
programs the lights?
Huh?
State does.
State does.
Well, you could ask them.
You
I
definitely
mean,
have to
it's-
program that.
All right, so let's put that down as a part of the possibility.
Yeah.
So not just look at it and what could be fixed, but also possibly the retiming of that light.
the other thing we were saying though is that inside turn, making that right onto 17M off of Hartley, that is now, there's a big ditch there because the wheels of the trailer,
Right.
as the tractor tries to stay in lane, the wheels of the trailer trail to the inside and they're coming off the road. If that could all be paved and lined, it's not a driveway, it's just there for the tractor wheels to go over, that solves a big part of the problem. But again, it's a state road and the state controls that entire intersection. The stop line on 17M, my problem is, people all the time, they're in the right lane, they wanna go up and they wanna make the right turn onto Gates Schoolhouse Road. All the time they do it. So I don't know that stop bar is gonna stop them at all.
Well, if you're gonna make a right-hand turn, you can come all the way up through and just make the right-hand turn there then. If somebody stopped, they're already in front of you at the
Right.
stop line, theoretically, you're not supposed to go on your shoulder to get pet around.
Well,
I'm not saying they're not going to.
It'll save that poor little hot dog truck.
I would really, that inside turn needs to be,
Yeah, I agree.
we need some,
It has to
I
happen.
miss the Greek truck.
those trucks, they're dragging their tires through there, and when they do, they're dragging the mud, the dirt, everything out.
And they're breaking up the side of the road right now.
It's destroyed.
Yeah. Okay, page 12.
So we just talked about C, we talked about the roadway.
Yeah.
The odor, they're going to cans of Glade aerosol or something, we said.
Yeah, the odor is a moot point. I mean, you're talking about a garbage facility.
If we talk about number 7, sub B,
Okay, well, on odors, I think we have to talk about the frequency,
Chester.
intensity, and the duration of the odors.
so they
There is times when it seems to be worse than normal.
So they
I
can
don't
shut
know
down
if that's
Goshen
when
and
they're
take it there.
doing something with the different trucks, or whether it's.
One town over.
I don't know what the thing is, but sometimes it's not bad there.
What, I'm sorry, 12?
On page 12, odors.
But again, there really aren't any residences on Portland
Right.
to worry about it. I mean, as a problem to bother someone that's actually living there. If you're passing by,
So the other question that maybe is when we talk odors, is that odors are something in the air that you're inhaling, and it may just be odor, and that's not bad. Some odors that you inhale potentially have something in them that is not good, and I don't know what that means. But if Louis' guys were, it's not, but if Louis' guys were always sitting there smelling something, I worry about these guys almost working there with this smell all the time. What are they inhaling all the time?
they have to have protections for that. No? I
Zero.
mean,
When we dump in there, not one of them was wearing a mask. Nothing,
well, then that's
nothing.
something that the company itself has to consider
That's
for its
like
own
an
employees.
Like an OSHA regulation,
Yeah, well, you would think.
I would think.
Well, we'll get to that in number 7. But I agree.
Number 6,
Yeah,
I mean, whoever wrote this for them?
actually Kelly wrote this up as a potential
Okay.
thing.
Using high-speed garage doors to reduce the escape of odors.
I'm sorry, I just think
as
that's
many
funny.
there's no way possible that can be done. Me dumping in there, as many trucks are in and out of there, and you dump, and then you gotta pull out of the garage, it's.
Yeah, God forbid
well,
somebody gets stuck.
Yeah, that, I don't see it working at all.
So you couldn't, it takes, what, 10 minutes? I think they said in here 10 minutes for a truck to dump. So you're saying that I don't have enough time in between every 10 minutes to open and close?
Okay, let's take 10 minutes on a nice day. During winter time, stuff freezes in there, dumpsters, they bring the excavator, they scratch out your dumpster for a half hour. The door's open.
Well, why does it have to be open when you're doing that?
You see the length of the building?
Well, there's
You can
gonna-
only fit one truck in there with garbage
No,
and
no,
empty.
but now we're gonna be able to handle 4. With this new thing, I'm gonna be able to handle 4 trucks in there at a time.
Side by side, not depth wise.
Okay.
So if my truck is 22 feet long, I need 30 feet on top of that. So you're looking at 55 feet of building for me to dump my container off. And that's just your standard
No,
container.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing. So we think that high speed, is there anything we can think of or suggest they may could look at that would keep the odors contained more?
Don't they have fans or some kind of?
They talk about having fans in there for the sake of ventilation, and it's in there, one of the manuals. And of course, I'm still back to the guys who work in there, they're still gonna be sucking that air in. And I don't know, just because you pull it out of the building, that it's going anywhere good to disappear.
Yeah, it's not getting filtered.
Yeah, I don't think they're cleaning it up, no. Are we getting some kind of odor eater ventilation? No, we're not.
well, I think that line is ridiculous.
Years
Wait, well,
ago,
I'm sorry, what's,
the doors.
I think high-speed garage, it's ridiculous.
all right, but do we have another answer? And we're just
I have
saying,
no answer.
potential met.
No, I just don't, like, I don't, that's like, hurry up, shut the door, because you don't want the odor to go out. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
You're gonna have besides the odor
Open the
of
garage
that,
door, get the trucks in, get your stuff done, and then close the garage door.
the
No,
issue
it's
that's
gonna be
also
open
gonna
all
have with
day.
the doors closing,
Hmm?
the issue with the doors closing as well, to keep that stench in there, if you would, you're also gonna have all the exhaust of the trucks in there as well. So you're actually adding to the inside of the building, all right? So, but,
High-speed garage door.
So some of the question is, any mitigation has to also address the potential impacts to employees.
well, just
Well,
years ago, didn't we have a problem with mosquitoes and they had to do a spray there?
Was it there, maybe?
I can't remember what that, 'cause
I know there's strictly kind of a spray with a big fan kind of thing.
Yes, they had that there. So is this gonna be an issue for them again for,
I don't know.
okay?
Well, that would fall under the protocol for the company and the protection for its employees. I don't think it's something that, the town should get involved with,
I
with
think-
their employees. There has to be some
OSHA.
sort. Hmm?
OSHA regulations maybe?
There has to be something that protects them in their contract for working there or whatever. You know, I'm shocked they don't wear masks or they don't wear certain protective clothing or,
That they might do,
They
they got
wear
their
some
safety
protective-
vest, they
they-
got
they
their
do,
helmet
yeah.
on, but as far as the breathing in of it, no.
They probably all have steel-toed shoes, safety
Right.
vest, and a helmet. And they all wear long pants all the time, no shorts.
And stay outside, so you know, It is what it is. So a lot of this can be blown over to science of the soul as well.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's gonna, absolutely, it's gonna
How in the world is that gonna work? They bring 14,000 people in for their jamboree and this place stinks in August.
Right, because you can smell it from the county landfill
Yeah.
easily on a hot day.
On a hot day?
On a hot day, you absolutely can.
but how could you possibly change that? Or contain it, or,
Well, one thing we're talking about our, so let's, Louis said maybe you could contain some of the smell if you had a street cleaner or a pavement cleaner, running through there twice a day or whatever that number is. You can clean that up so that's not outside all the time. Go ahead, Louis.
So you're gonna sweep up the contaminants, and where are you gonna dump
Like
it?
airborne, and then I'm gonna.
No, on the road.
We're gonna,
It's hazardous, right? The sweeper's gonna sweep it up, where are you gonna put it?
on the side of the road. No, I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna dump it in and ship it out with the rest of the material. It's their material originally, if their material coming into the site is not hazardous, you can put it in there into the dumpster or the outgoing truck, and it can go wherever the stuff normally goes.
But a lot of guys that dump in there don't bring in hazardous stuff.
I know they don't, and that's
So
what
now
I'm
you're
saying.
contaminating their stuff.
No, well, I don't know that I'm contaminating anything, because it's already it's already theirs to start with. I'm bringing, I'm bringing out of the property, it's already theirs. I'm bringing their stuff out onto the road, maybe, or out to the edge. And therefore, if I sweep that up and put it back in there, it's the same stuff. I'm just returning what they lost.
Again, there's another garbage company right across the street, so you're taking their
No,
garbage.
I'm not even, at this point in time, I'm not even talking about going out on the street. I'm talking about just sweeping their property.
Staying within the fence.
Staying within their fence,
To hold
yeah.
down the odor.
Yeah, I'm talking.
And tracking all that out on the road.
Right, and I think if I clean that up more regularly, and maybe it's, I don't know what the number, how often, I don't know how often they can do it, but if they did that regularly, possibly it would be that much better. I mean, one of the things that I'd say is you can use the water, but I'm not sure you can use the water there, because they did some water testing on this, and they gave us some results. If you look at the water test results that they gave, the samples were not valid. The samples were held too long for the testing to be valid. So why give us this nonsense when it's like that? It's like, you did it wrong.
To what?
To
To
test
delay.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
To delay it, come on.
Yes. I
At least they didn't
understand,
go to their faucet.
but no, I think it's really that I really think it's that they didn't figure we're gonna catch it.
Okay.
You know, the lab said it's not a valid sample because it was held too long and it had an air gap in it or something like that, and they were told to test it anyhow. It's right on the test results.
Why aren't we testing instead of letting them do it, and then billing them, so we know it's hopefully done correctly?
Because we don't have staff that can do it. We could theoretically have a third party do it,
Right.
that we contract with.
You get a lot of different answers, I bet.
I think there's potential.
Okay.
We also would probably, we might select different or more contaminants to be looking for, but.
And it might be done quicker.
All right, so I think on owners, I think we're talking about tire wash or pavement washing, any kind of, and just sometimes you have these things where you blow things on so it smells like oranges. It doesn't clean it up, it just messes it.
yeah.
So in body shops,
Yeah.
when they spray the cars in the body shop, there are
Mhm.
fans in there.
Yeah,
And then it goes to a filter system to
Yeah.
get it out and release it. That's one option.
and certainly
That's what she's saying here,
Mhm.
a biofilter.
Okay.
That's what,
Yeah,
okay.
right, I think that impacts the health, certainly they should discuss the OSHA regulations that are required for this kind of facility. And they always say people are gonna be trained in this, that, but we have airborne stuff, whether it's just from traffic going in or whatever else. We have things not only that are physical or you can see, but also stuff that goes airborne. That's why we have the fans blowing it and everything else. I think we also talked about having them do borings of the soils before they start, so we know what the potential impacts to.
We talked about that, but that's not in here.
No, I think it has to be though.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
they do have prior to excavation, we're doing soil testing to determine if there are explosive gases from the neighboring landfill, which.
That's one.
That's a really good point. But those borings to tell us just
The contaminants.
the contaminants.
Yeah.
You know, again, we've got guys that are gonna just come in and just do construction and they don't know what they're walking into. And I think, you know,
And so consequently, what kind of protective equipment do they need to wear? Or
yes.
protective clothing?
Yeah, that's important.
Or for all I know, listen, if they've gotta scrape off the top 5 feet and that's gotta be treated as hazmat and taken away as hazmat, okay, but again, I think there's a reasonable expectation that if a guy's coming to work and he's gonna put a shovel into the ground, that he's not gonna be breathing in heavy metals, et cetera. I don't know that it's there, but I have to presume because of the nature of the business.
And certainly it has to be limited that it is there. So you're talking about possible things they can touch and contact is gonna be an issue?
Yeah.
And things that smell, what kind of suits do you have to wear, what kind of respirators do you have to use?
I mean, once they
If any-
build the thing and there's a concrete slab there, okay, the guy that's working there, he's not gonna be
Exposed to what's in the soil?
I wouldn't think so, but the guy that's running the dump truck, running the loader, et cetera, I just think we have a duty to protect them as well. And it's doing bore tests, as you said, to see what's in there. And I don't see that listed anywhere here, so,
The board test should be done by another agency. You had somebody come in for Legoland for,
Yeah.
handicaps, right?
Yep.
And they found a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So,
We have many.
right, so on this, because it is hazardous, it should be a third party doing it, and then just bill it back to the applicant. My feeling.
Yeah. Well, we can put that in our notes, and the town board can decide what they're gonna do with it. I mean, it's gonna be their thing, but, yeah, okay.
and then you did have here on the mitigation measures for any explosive gases, that's covered in there as well, because that's a real possibility.
But it's not just explosive gas, it's any other contact contaminants.
You turned over to page 13?
Yeah, unless anybody has anything else on 12?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't know what the no-build alternative is.
You know, I was just reading that and I was just, I didn't understand.
Carol and I need an explanation.
Okay, always, the question is, on every EIS, the question is, what would the impacts be if this project didn't happen?
IWS doesn't get their increased DEC permit and they make less money.
And what are the environmental impacts of it? And so consequently, one of the adverse impacts, or no build, would not an adverse impact necessarily, but a no build impact would be that some of the garbage goes somewhere else. Reasonable alternatives to the proposed act, consider the objectives of the description and evaluation of each alternative. So if you didn't build, what would the alternative be?
County has a separate site for it, they don't.
Yeah. So in the no build, from the town, of course, if they don't, the idea is if they get an increase in their MSW throughput, that is income to the town, because they're getting more tonnage through, the town makes more money, I like that.
If they
IWS does,
collect.
yes, IWS does have other sites they can go to if they don't get their increased throughput. Going back to the stormwater runoff issue, the no-build alternative does not negate the fact that they need to take care of the stormwater that's coming off the site now. Separate issue.
The existing.
The existing issue must be corrected. And I'm actually with Louis in that it must be corrected before we talk about anything else. Because this is the only lever that we have, the leverage we have right now to make them do what is the right thing, by the way.
And to some degree, that consent decree from the EPA, they acknowledge that there's the right thing to do.
Okay, do the right thing then.
I'm just saying that also the neighbor can involve the town itself in a lawsuit because we're allowing it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If we're responsible for allowing it to happen, then we are responsible.
And we are.
But
Right.
there can be adverse impacts from your neighbor that we're not responsible for, but I'm not taking that, take it up.
The potential of inclusion for the recyclables separate from the single stream proposed, they're doing that anyway. They've got a state-of-the-art recycling facility in New Jersey, they said.
But I don't know if they're saying they're taking it there, I'm saying, I don't know that they're just saying we're not gonna do this as a single stream. We're gonna take all the recyclables and just throw it in with the garbage and get rid of it. For the most part,
Well,
recyclables are not worthwhile doing monetarily. Go ahead, Louis.
well, I just showed you that in Goshen, they say they accept refrigerators, air conditioning units and stuff, but when I go there, there's nothing separated in there. At the county, they have every TVs,
Yeah.
refrigerator, everything's separated
Yeah.
at the county outside. Over here, they say they take it, but it all goes in there. So now you're talking about the refrigerant and air conditioning?
All right, let's ask about that somewhere. That's gotta be, we're back up to potential impacts to health, whatever. Are they in fact taking refrigerants and stuff like that? Or household hazardous materials?
Household hazards,
Let's
yes.
go with that. And if they are, then what are they and what are they doing with it?
When I thought recyclables, I was thinking plastics, aluminum,
Yeah.
but you make a better point. These,
Tires, just anything.
Oh, you know what, I do have a question about vapors from ground contamination going up through the building, if it's closed up, instead of opening it, can be hazardous for the people that are working inside.
Okay, and you're right, and I did want to bring something up about that. Certainly, we have radon in the town, and radon I'm just using because I know it's there, and one of the ways you deal with radon is to put vents or piping underneath the slab, and you start kind of fan up the top, so you start sucking the air out from underneath the slab. What you do is you keep the contaminants from being inside the building, or leaking inside.
Vapor
inside the building.
intrusion.
Vapor intrusion, whatever. So yes, I think that maybe they should look at what's in the ground and what's potentially coming out of the ground, and take that into consideration as they built this thing, that you put those vents in there, and what you can really do is start running, essentially like drainage pipe, which you use usually to get rid of water. You can take that underneath, and then start sucking the air from there in and out of the roof. Generally, what you do is you put the fan outside the building, and you just suck it up to there, as opposed to having it inside the building and blowing it, because if you're inside the building and blowing it, any leak or crack in the pipe, will take it out of the building anyhow. So yes, I think that should be a potential mitigation, is that they should consider ventilating, sub-slab ventilation for any kind of vapors. Good, thank you. Anything else on page 12?
I didn't have anything else.
No, no.
All right, page 13. Technical appendices. I had something up there. I think one of the appendices should be the engineer's report, the traffic consultant's report on traffic access at the site and at the entrance and at Hartley Road and 17M. I think that one of the things that was, I am not certain that you can make a right-hand turn out of this facility onto Hartley Road without going in the wrong lane.
Not the way it is right now.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps that entrance needs to be expanded. I know they fought that when the planning board talked about it, but just because they want to fight it and that, I think this appendix, talking about traffic access from their traffic consultant, should show turning radiuses going into and out of the plant and where they show up on the road, and I think going out on 17M. And I think that the last thing they tried to do, they did show that, and is that they went into the wrong lane.
Right.
Every time.
But the only alternative to that would be widening the road, so I haven't.
Or widening their access, their driveway. If they made their driveway to their
Okay.
75-foot wide instead of
Mhm.
50-foot wide, they could possibly do it. But I use those numbers are not correct. But
You know, there was also the discussion about the number of trucks that were going to be coming in and out of the site. John made the point last time and found that there was a discrepancy between the
Yes,
number of trucks. They showed an increase, but in the meeting, they said there would be no increase.
right.
So we need an answer as to whether you're not, are you going to add trucks to Hartley Road and the points as they come in? And we haven't had an answer to that.
I think there are two answers there. One I think is that in that report, they showed that under the existing conditions, under the prior approved conditions,
Right?
they were gonna have this many trucks, and consequently, that's it. And then they showed, under the new proposed system, they were gonna have more trucks going in, and they call them tipper trucks, and that's the garbage
That's right.
coming in, and then there's also the transfer trucks. So they're gonna show an increase in both of those, if they are allowed to go up to 670. But what they were really saying is, look, what they're trying to say at the meeting was, we're already bringing that much garbage in, and therefore it's gonna be no different from what we're already doing. And that would be correct, except it's not. Well, so they are correct in that it's not gonna be any worse than what they're doing already. However, if they were doing what they're supposed to be doing right now, then it is gonna be an increase.
I got it now. I don't like it, but I got it.
Okay, that I believe is the explanation.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that's not addressed in here, and I tried Louis on this one, but it was tough to find, is they're showing two kinds of trucks taking garbage out for transfer. One is the regular walking floors or whatever, and the other one is those container trucks.
The cubes.
The cubes, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think the cubes are relatively new, meaning the last couple of years, not the last 20 years, that they're doing it. I think those are going on to railroad cars possibly.
Were you talking about the cube that goes onto a lowboy
Yeah.
trailer? Okay.
So the question is, if we're gonna have more and more cube trucks coming in, do we have to increase the number of truck trips? Because they look to me, and I could be wrong, they look to me like they hold less
I think you're right.
than the other rollbacks.
On
or
a longer trailer even, so that, now you've got to widen. I don't think you can get a lowboy in and out of that site.
Where?
IWS, right now, coming off the site onto Hartley, can you make that swing onto Hartley Road
They're doing it now.
They're doing it now.
with the lowboys?
Yeah.
Well, they're definitely crossing over the other lane and shutting
Oh,
down.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay, then,
Yeah, those trucks are definitely there now. I don't think they were there 20 years ago. So if they're moving more and more to that, what is the real truck traffic going to be? Not what they're currently saying now, and are they currently doing out projections now based on the rollbacks, or walking floors rather, or are they doing that based on these low boys, or some mix of it?
If you're looking at tonnage, argument's sake,
Yep.
and they're taking in 600 ton, argument's sake,
Yep.
they're getting rid of 600 ton.
Yep.
That, the older way that they were doing it with the walking floors, it was more volume moving out, therefore less traffic on the road. If they're doing the same amount, and it's just smaller cubes, they are going to increase.
Great. No, I agree, and I just think that they have to address that. If you're gonna be a traffic count and saying I'm only gonna have 22 trucks, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I'm gonna have 22 trucks leaving the site with the transfer, then if I'm gonna have more of these cubes, then maybe the answer is I'm really gonna have 35.
Who's doing the traffic?
They're providing it to us. And they have some.
So they're gonna give it to you on the slowest day?
No, they actually give us some pretty good. I think that on average, and we can see even what time of day some of these trucks are showing up even. They have the number of trucks and the tonnage being dropped off from 7 o'clock in the morning up until they close down at night. They do show that. And so I think they're accurate on what they're doing right now. But I don't know that they've taken into account that these cubes are being used more and more.
But it's not only the cubes that are going out.
Right.
I'm also talking about the amount of stuff that's going in.
Yeah.
So let's just say the trucks that are bringing it in are smaller because it requires a driver with a CDL. So now everybody's downsizing to the smaller trucks where you're making double the amount of trips in.
Are they doing that now?
Some of them are, yeah.
Okay,
Because
why?
it's a problem for CDL drivers to find that.
Yeah.
So what do? You get a vehicle that's under the CDL, which means you bring in less.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's more traffic going in, not necessarily out.
Okay, I'm not, I agree with you if that's what they're doing. I wasn't aware that that's what was happening.
How small can the truck be before you don't need a CDL? Something without air brakes?
Do you need CDL for a box truck?
For the weight limit, 25,999 is under the CDL requirements, for the CDL. But then you get endorsements. The endorsements is the air, and it goes like that. So,
So if you're under 26,000 pounds without air brakes, you don't need a CDL.
correct.
I mean, that's 26,000 pounds is a lot,
It still is, sure.
but it's not as big as a.
Right, it's not as big as my trucks that are at
Right.
70,000 going in there loaded.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. They haven't broken down, I can't find it off the top of my head really. But they haven't broken down as to what trucks are going in. But if you're right, if they're gonna, maybe we should confirm that this is what they're gonna continue seeing as far as trucks coming in, the same size compactor trucks or whatever. But you can bring in, you're allowed to come in with a,
I'm allowed to go in as a company. You couldn't bring your garbage into there. They don't accept it. IWS will not accept.
but if you come in with a truck, people like your company, you going with smaller trucks than what they know, the big compactors, you don't know?
I couldn't tell you. It's what the individual rents from us. It could be a little dumpster filled with shingles, which is heavier than a big dumpster filled with furniture.
Okay. No, I'm more, in this case, I'm more worried about or more concerned about the number of trips. You know, they're taking more trucks, less. I know.
Well,
And also what I've told Neil, and it's happened to me, I go in IWS, and if there's a line, I turn around and I go over to the county. I'm not waiting in line 45 minutes to get unloaded. So that happens there as well. And their own trucks take it to the county.
You can take your own garbage into IWS?
Trash box can, my company trash box can, yeah,
Oh, wow.
yes.
Oh, you mean like, you mean like those long dumpsters?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, you can't go in there with a pickup and start throwing your trash bags in there.
so how about,
County can.
instead of, look, as technology changes, trucking changes,
Yes.
they're gonna go smaller. So based on the current numbers, can we say, if you change by this percentage, you have to come back and get re-permitted? Because let's just say they all move to smaller trucks and they double the number of trucks coming in. Same tonnage, double the number of trucks. I'm still concerned about the number of vehicles on the road, what it means to the residents and what it means to us repairing the road. So.
So we can see their cubes are smaller coming out right now.
Well, won't
Than
that
what they
come
used
out
to
in
do.
the traffic study?
But yes,
They did the traffic study based on what's
But-
currently happening. And so I don't know that what's currently happening, they probably took it back in 2023 or something like that. According, based on what was happening in 2023, this is what was coming into our plant and this is going
But
out.
don't they do a traffic study on proposed?
They're proposing, look, they just projected it out. If we move, and they were pretty good. I mean, in all honesty, they're currently permitted to have, from the DEC, they're permitted to have 600 tons a day. And they were hitting about 588 on average. So they're within 12 ton of being dead on. So based on that, they show how many trucks came in, during what hour of the day did they come in, and how much they were carrying. They have all that documented. And then they would show the document, they can document what goes out. And then what they did was they said, look, from that 600 up to 670, here's what we're gonna project is we're gonna have the additional trucks. Just that 70 ton extra was 15 trucks bringing garbage in, and I think 3 trucks going out. What they didn't do there, and it's kind of deceptive for what we normally see in traffic studies, is what we call end trips. Because every truck that comes in also leaves. So that truck is passing the traffic light up at Hartley Road or whatever, twice each time it comes in. So all the trucks are like that.
Also, for all of those numbers, it never discusses the actual tons per truck, right? So as the truck gets smaller, you could have the same tonnage, but double the number of trucks.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, is there a way to trigger a relook at the permit once they pass this number of,
I think we have to look at that. I think we have to suggest that we look at perhaps an increase in whatever percentage.
Yeah, because the traffic changes
Yeah.
if they change the size.
right.
But like Louis said, though, other businesses, his on-time disposal, whoever comes in, their tonnage coming in on a size truck is gonna vary tremendously. Louis sometimes, I think, gets clean outs of houses. You have mattresses, stuffed furniture or something like that. Well, who the heck cares? I mean, it's almost no weight.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of volume.
Somebody's redoing the inside of their house and it's sheet rock and it rains.
oh, yeah,
You're doing
yeah,
water weight,
yep.
yep. So, which kind of sucks for them,
Yeah.
because they're, you know,
Well,
only
but-
on 600 ton, but 100 of it is
But
water.
however, you're paying by the ton, so
Right.
they're getting paid for it anyhow. But I don't have anything else on there. You must have anything for the rest of that?
No, but you are gonna give this to Frank tomorrow, right?
Yeah, okay. What I did want to bring up is that I talked before about the water testing. And so two things about it. It's under attachment number 7,
Oh,
in the Town of Goshen's ADB
yeah.
wastewater management report. And it says, I really kind of like this, it's the drinking water analytical results. And so the first thing you have to look at is the fact that, right there in the thing, it says the sample was, the field analysis is required. Received out of hold time and analyzed by request. So somebody hung on to the sample too long, and they did it anyhow. And they admit that, the company's saying that. Then there are some here that say that they, not only that, there was also, sample was, had received with headspace. So when you have a full sample bottle, it's supposed to have no air in it, and some of them had air in it even. And then some of them, they asked, how did you test it by? What matrix? Did you compare it to what's required for drinking water or what's required for surface water? Two different things. So in this section, attachment number 7, which is drinking water analytical results, you look at this one report in section 3, and it says that they did the testing based on surface water. Well, we don't drink surface water, and we don't want to test it to that if you're doing drinking water. So I think that all these things, all these results in here are suspect under attachment 7. I think somebody other than us lay people should be looking at this. I think the town should be having a hydrogeologist look at it. I think it would make a lot more sense. There's a bunch of contaminants in here that seem to exceed all kinds of thresholds. Number 1, or number 2, 3, whatever it is.
And if the tests aren't done correctly, they're useless.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I know some of the test results they use for what's coming out of the outdoor landfill and what's in there, and they use the results for, I think, 2012 or 2013. It's been done since then. I know the DEC has done that since then.
Yeah, it's bad.
And one of the reasons I have some real concern about this water is because hopefully what they're gonna look at is what is the well on the property having water, so that if they use it for washing down trucks or use it for washing down the road, and it becomes steam or whatever, or this, and people start inhaling this, what are the employees inhaling? And how safe is it for them to be using that for anything that might drift off to other property or other thing else? Okay. Anything else on IWS?
Not for me.
Okay, we're not gonna be able to cover it good enough, but we're gonna start. Harley Road has a proposed battery energy storage system coming in. Okay, what you're gonna do is, this board had somebody from the O&R come in a while back and talk about this. What they're gonna do, what they need to do now with all this solar going on in the state and all, they have to store energy that's being produced during the day and then feed it back into the system at night. So we started seeing things where they're coming in and they're gonna take the solar off your house and put it into that, or on a site and put it in the batteries right there and use it. And they've gotten to the point where there's somebody on the houses that are producing this, and now they're taking it in. So they have to have separate places that just are battery storage. You're gonna take it off the grid, you're gonna hold it and then put it back on the grid at night. So that's what's being proposed on Harley Road. And so the kind of concerns, we're gonna have to do this more, but we have to start looking at it today, is what are the concerns we have for it? And we're gonna, the DEC or the planning board's certainly gonna get to the scope of that thing on it or whatever else.
Now, today, they just had some on 12 News about battery storage in county. They brought up what happened in Warwick.
Yeah.
And that the county's doing new regulations or something, it's just on the
The
county
county's doing
12.
things?
I don't know if it's a county or the state, but it's, it was on the news today, on Channel 12 News. It may still be because they keep running it over and over today. So, but it was something about the fire in Warwick and what they're doing, because they're trying to propose some, I think out in, somewhere else in Orange County, they want to do battery storage. And there's some controversy on it and what they're gonna allow them to do or not allow them to do. So that's, that was just on the news today, on Hudson Valley News,
Yeah.
so.
This is certainly the first one that's being proposed in Goshen. And it looks like it's about 180 feet by 100 feet.
So,
Go ahead, Dewey.
you want me to start off?
Sure.
I don't wanna hear.
All right, that's not heavy.
Tell us what you
I don't want it here where it's proposed, right next to the Mid-Hudson Site Center. If something goes wrong, how are you getting all them out of there? Okay. Next to the Walk-Hill, you're gonna have to evacuate what Warwick did, the surrounding businesses. There's just, it can go on. I really don't want it in the town of Goshen, anywhere in the town of Goshen. They haven't proven themselves yet to be,
Safe,
yeah, that's one way of saying it, yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking for another word, but
Is it reliable?
reliable. So,
Okay.
you know, we're not guinea pigs that this might work, this might work.
Anybody else?
That's just my feeling on it, and I'm totally against it.
One of my first cars, 1980, 78 Chevy Caprice Classic, and it had power windows that were always broken, because they were always broken in the 1970s. And as time went on, they got better and better, to the point where today, every car has got power windows, they always work, they're always dependable. This technology is in its infancy, and it is completely unproven, as evidenced by the fact that they have a lot of fires. And the number of incidents are decreasing every single year, but they're not to the point where they are today's power windows in a car, right? Not that they're, and it's not even that they're not dependable yet, it's that when you have a problem, it's a catastrophic problem.
Correct.
We're talking about absolutely destroying the environment, we're talking about evacuating entire neighborhoods. This, as, it is just simply, we don't know enough about this to put this in my backyard. And I understand, like, when you go out west, you go out, man, they got just deserts full of solar panels and deserts full of batteries and stuff. There's nobody around.
Correct.
This, to my mind, not because they're bad people, not because it's not a good idea, it's just an unknown that I'm not willing to take a risk on, because the downside is such a catastrophe. So I think
Proof
I'm
was war.
vis-a-vis war, you know,
Proof is
there you
war.
go. I mean, it's right in our backyard.
Yep.
Burn for days. I understand there's different types, even in just the last few years, there's been leaps and bounds in types of battery storage, and moving from the different types of lead acid battery to what is now, I guess they're using the NiCad. But from everything that I read, the type of fire that they have is basically an uncontrolled chain reaction, which they tell the fire department, don't do anything. Let our people get there, and sometimes you just gotta let it burn. That is not a plan.
Right.
But the fact that you don't even know how to fight it, that's the real problem. You know, John is with us tonight. John and I were both firemen in New York City, and we're gonna tell you that anytime that we had a fire in these Con Ed facilities where they have these battery storages, Con Ed told us, don't put water on it, just call us. And it is crazy it was, that's what we had to do, because we simply don't have what it takes to put that out, neither did they, let it burn. So it's just a technology that's not proven, and the downside is just way too bad if it happens.
In this area.
In this area.
In this
By the way, go
area.
put it out in the desert, and by the way, that's where it tested in the desert. So that's why they, Los Alamos, built a bomb out there, because there was nobody around. And
Can
this
I
is,
ask a real layman question? What is it for?
well, my understanding is that you have, you have peak energy periods, and when you do, you put a tremendous strain on the system, and that's when you get power outages, brownouts, etc. The idea behind this is that you're going to store this energy on the off-peak, the overnight times, and then on the peak times, you release this energy out of the battery packs into the system, thus reducing the strain on the power plant itself. That's the idea, and I think that eventually this will work.
So it's to enhance the electric grid that's in this area?
Everywhere.
As a backup.
And when we say just this area, but we're talking, this necessarily won't service our area, it will service New York City.
So we're gonna put it in our town, which we get no benefit from.
Like everything's happening in our town on this side of the highway, putting everything
You'll
in.
just add another MTA charge to cover the cost.
I think Chris is basically right, but I think it's a little bit opposite. What's happening nowadays is, with all the solar going on, the excess amount of electricity is produced during the day, because of all the solar. It's off of our houses, it's off of all the, solar farms we have. So what we have to do is we have to suck the electricity off the grid during the day. And then at night, you can't, when all the solar goes down and all the solar farms are dead, we can't just turn the switch on the power companies or power plants and turn them up and start generating electric. So we have to figure out how to deal with that the surges and the loss. So what the proposal is to take this electric off the grid and then put it back on the grid as needed.
Which again, doesn't service us. So they've created a problem, and now that they have too much of it,
Right.
okay, so.
And it's not that the power companies have created the problem. The power companies have to deal with the problem. But yes, and the last time we had somebody from O&R here, they said the ideal location for these things is right where the end user is going to be. It's not right here. In fact, they particularly said that Harley Road is not necessarily the right place to do it.
Wait, they said that?
O&R said that the one time. They said, look, if you really need, let's say like a Legoland, you should have it over there by Legoland. And so you're gonna take it off the grid right there, and then you're gonna take the battery and stick it right there in the Legoland.
You're not losing anything in the transmission to the end user.
The ideal is at the location where it's gonna be used is the ideal answer. Will this function still? It's gonna function still, but not as good as it would if you had it at the end user.
So who is the end user?
Whoever, it's gonna just go back on the grid, and we don't know who the end user's gonna be. Right here, if Amy's Kitchen was gonna open up, it might be Amy's Kitchen or whatever. But I don't know if there's a big end user out here. Maybe it's gonna be RDM or something like that, maybe those people, I don't know.
And going back to like the solar field that is owned by a company that builds and sells power, and this is for them. This is part of their business, which definitely makes it a them problem. It's not an us problem. You need to put this thing somewhere, but that doesn't mean that I have to put it in my town. But it's definitely not for
So
you.
say for instance, you have that big solar farm in McEwen's place.
Yep.
Who benefits from that?
The people who make money on that are the people who own the land get some rent, and then the people who manufacture the electricity sell the electricity to the grid. Now, what they can do is you personally, if you wanted to, you can go to that company and say, I'd like to buy some of your solar energy, and they roughly say, we will sell it to you at 10 or 15% less than what you could buy electricity from O&R, say. And they probably do that. And that's who you would benefit by that. And to do that, you have to be within their service, Nicings or O&R service area, which is pretty big. I think it's, they go all the way down to Rockland County, something like that. So there's a big area for that you can do that within.
Because New York just signed that thing where they're allowing now them to increase the energy prices, the delivery prices. And I'm already paying
It's
a
insane.
fortune. I have 6 meters
It's insane.
and I'm paying a fortune.
So, when this happened in Warwick, do we know the radius of the people they had to evacuate?
No, I don't. I tried to reach out to some fire chiefs today, and I was gonna have, hopefully they're gonna go to,
I could find that. I have a business in Warwick.
The only reason why I'm saying is because if this is on Hartley Road, and let's just say it is by TAM, 6.3 miles is Legoland. That's how close Legoland is to
Well,
us. So how are you evacuating
a big-
Legoland if the shit hits the ceiling?
a bigger concern to me is it's a lot closer to the jail.
Right, the jail, the
How are you
site
gonna
center,
evacuate the jail?
Legoland. Right.
I'm looking at, how are you gonna evacuate the jail?
This is not the look at Goshen is not the place for this
It's
kind
just
of
like
crap.
they do in New York City, just let them out.
All right, so anyhow, that's a question, certainly, is if this was a fire here, what's my radius of concern?
And it's not only that, Louis, but it's not, if this isn't a house fire,
No,
this isn't wood burning.
right.
This is the nastiest stuff ever. Everything ends in I. It's carbon monoxide, all that stuff that ends in I that's gonna kill you.
Everything that it settles on, my mulch pile, saucers,
Yes.
tractors, Healy's cars, everything is gonna have an effect to this. We saw it when Canada was on fire and the ashes were
Oh
landing
my
on
God,
us.
Yes.
yeah.
So just
Yeah.
imagine this in our back door and all the air conditioning units that the people are gonna breathe. No, this is not for Goshen.
I can say this, I mean, you know where my house is, and if they had a
Yeah.
fire there, I'd get out. I don't care what the EPA says, it's just, this stuff that's in the air is.
As a town, we shouldn't allow it.
As a town, the people who make that decision for us, they have made that decision, and they said that they think it's allowable in town.
Allowable
Who said
and
that?
The people
There's
that make
totally
that
different.
decision make too many decisions
That
that
were wrong.
shouldn't be made.
absolutely.
And I can give you one, for instance, tomorrow night with the public hearing, that was it ever,
All right.
All right, we'll get,
All right, well,
different subject.
no,
We're not-
I'm just saying
We're
that.
not taking that on tonight. So the answer is that the town board has made the decision several years ago now, that this is going to be allowable in town in certain areas, and this property is within that area.
But O&R says it's not, so how does the
Now,
town?
O&R says it's not the ideal
Right.
location.
So-
O&R is not saying they won't use it. O&R will probably use this and let them take electricity off and put it back on this.
Wouldn't this come under a category possibly with a utility where they get special preference and
No.
sort of thing?
It would be, if it was owned by O&R, the answer is yes.
Oh, this is a private entity?
This is a private entity.
Have they done any of these things any place?
I don't know the answer to that. It's done. We have it all, we all have it, and I apologize, I did not get to look at it good enough.
Mhm.
Can just reading this off the Hudson Valley Times, and I don't know if this is still true. Montgomery banned these types of facilities, and the mayor at the time just said, there are new innovations down the road and safety measures implemented, we could always reconsider visiting this. As I said before, to me, it's an untested, so you can't, by saying yes, we can put these in, or saying yes, let's put this in, you can't unring that bell. But if we say no, you can't put this in, come back to me in a couple of years when this thing is better. I understand that the town has said they want it, but you know what? They can change their mind.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why the town would say they want it, because they benefit absolutely nothing from it.
Well,
Zero. We don't use the electric, they don't do it.
Yeah, but.
You know something? Put a $20 million bond on it and we'll come visit it. That way when you screw up everybody's shit, we have the money in the account to do it.
I think one of your points, Louis, that makes sense is who does the cleanup, who's responsible to clean up, and all that. I think it's good. However, we do have to deal with the fact that the town board has approved this use within the town in certain areas, and consequently, this is gonna have to be reviewed, put under that.
The town
If
board,
the town board wants to change it, they can change it anytime they want to.
the town board is supposed to represent the public, okay? Not 6 people on the board or one individual to say, yes, we could use it. for how many people that live in the town and the village that don't even know that this is coming.
Well, I like,
5 people voted on this, 5 people voted, I don't know, if all 5 voted for it, not for this project, but for the, in general, 5 people voted on the board to allow battery energy storage within the town.
Well, me raising my hand, I don't want it. So if it's gotta go back to the town and you say the ERB thinks that this should be,
well, I like Chris's thing from Montgomery. I think that that statement in itself could be a good defense for the town board.
What I'm saying is, I think if we're going to, if you feel that way, I would strongly suggest that you get in touch with the town board.
Mhm.
They are the people who make that decision.
right, but as an environmental review board, we can tell the town board
That we,
Well,
how
we
many
can-
don't agree with their decision.
The answer is that what we're going to do is we're gonna look at this and say, these are our concerns about this particular project being in town and being placed here. We can do that, and that's our responsibility.
Neil, they came last Thursday to the planning board?
We got this last Thursday.
Okay, it was the first planning board meeting I have not made in nearly a year
They
and a
did
half.
not, they did not make a presentation, we just got the materials.
Okay, and that's what my point is, it said initial presentation, it was not a presentation.
No, there was not a
Okay,
presentation.
so, at this point,
I am
nobody,
correct, all right, Grace? We got the materials handed out to us last week, not,
Yeah, I don't think they said anything about it.
but we haven't even had the company make a pitch, they haven't made a presentation. I've got some paperwork here.
that's what we always get.
So their initial presentation is on the 17th.
Okay,
Okay.
so the 17th is when they're gonna make the initial presentation to the planning board. By our next meeting, we're gonna have to come back up with looking at this, okay? It is gonna be whatever, if we have concerns, then I realize we do have concerns. Then what we need to come up is, what are our concerns, and not just that we don't want it, but these are why we have
No,
these concerns,
I agree with you,
okay?
I agree.
I think it is significant, and I really do question,
The town board thinking of this?
I really do question
I'm
what
just
happens
saying it on
if,
video. How the hell do they think about this shit? I don't get it.
the point I have is, if the area of concern includes the jail, well, what's the evacuation plans for that gonna be? And I don't know that it is that, I thought that I read just this week, that when Warwick had the thing, I thought they evacuated 1,000 people. I don't know that that's true.
I know they closed the schools.
Sure, this is relatively close to the school.
Yeah, what
You're
am I
gonna have
supposed to
panic.
do with 80-some horses and,
Right, exactly. Like Chris said, there's an area for it. Town of Goshen's not the area.
All right, we have to come up with reasons why we think that, and they have to be based on something.
Well, for that, I mean, for that, I think, look, I'm not a scientist, I'm just reading even the stuff that I'm getting online. When you start evacuating small towns, it's something bad. There's really something bad. I don't even need to know exactly why, I just need to know that it was bad enough that you evacuated. You don't evacuate the neighborhood if there's a house fire. It's bad stuff to breathe, but that's not the stuff that won't kill you. This stuff, we're talking about some of the worst stuff.
Well, I think-
And they catch fire.
And certainly, if you have some contacts with the New York City Fire Department, I'd love to get their response. I certainly started to reach out today to a fire chief, and I probably am gonna try going to the emergency, the hazmat people down there.
Then why don't
County
we,
training.
we're not talking to the Goshen Fire Department about this too? These guys are great.
Mhm.
They take these classes all the time. I think they'd be a great source of information.
I think if we can get somebody there who's willing to come in and talk, I'd love it. In fact, if you know somebody who's willing to come in and talk to us at our next ERB meeting, I'll take it.
well, I think a lot of times the town board feels that Goshen should have like a futuristic vision.
Yeah.
Really,
Just
and
that.
Warehouses and this is a futuristic vision.
what I'm saying is that I don't think
All right.
it's always well thought out for every individual
I don't know.
project.
Okay, I'm not, this is not the political forum for this.
Yeah.
We are what we are, and we have to deal with what we have. But the town board is the ones who decide, yes, we're gonna allow this in the town, and this is where we're gonna allow it, and this is within that area.
Did this individuals make a presentation? Tell
No, they
me?
did not, they did not.
That was my next question, John. When they made that decision, did they have the information? Did they? I don't know, I wasn't there.
They had the information they thought was sufficient to make a determination.
Did they have the information of the Warwick fire yet?
No,
Oh,
I think it was before that.
okay, well,
Maybe it's time to revisit it, but as you said, Neil, that's,
And I
I
think
understand that's a different
Exactly.
issue, but that's not to say that it's not part of the ERB's, responsibility to say,
To
hey,
suggest that they,
we have new information, that when you made this decision, there's some new information that's come along
and,
since then.
and in fact, what we may have, when we come up with looking at this and reviewing, we may come up with enough information to say, here's why we think it's, you need to reconsider.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, and we may get to that point. What we have to do is, we have to look at why we really think, and there's our fear, based on something that we can really put down in it. And I think we certainly have some concerns, but we have to start from there.
I understand, can't just say because I got hurt feelings. Hurt feelings doesn't do anything.
Or
Nothing to
or
do with
not in my backyard.
And not, my backyard's not good enough either.
no.
But this is why, not in my backyard,
Mhm.
evacuations, jail's too close,
And,
long-term
and,
effects.
and I don't know what's, yeah.
Listen, when the power windows work every single time, go ahead, I'm in for it.
I'll tell you what worked every single time, was cranking it up.
But you know what? I'll bet you the first time you went to go do that, it didn't work back in the 1930s or whatever.
It used to get stuck, remember, click, and
Took-
it would get stuck,
right.
click.
But it took a while. It took a while till we got that technology down.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right, people, everybody has this, we'll look at this is gonna become, I'm sure that the planning board's